show up on my side too, so we both have
Yeah.
copies.
Okay. So it's recording. You did it. Good. You did it.
That's happened to me before, though. I had a great conversation with someone. I forget who. I mean, 2 hours, right? And then at the end, I was like, "Oh man, that was great." And then I came back to edit it later, and it was gone. It vanished.
That's
That,
what happened to
on
me.
my on my podcast one time with my buddy Sincere Hogan, we had this awesome conversation with the late Charles Poliquin, and he was on the show a couple
Okay.
of times. But
Yeah.
one time we
Rest in
talked
peace.
to him, and he and I, Charles and I, got deep into hormone optimization. It was a really good exchange, and the episode vanished. And
Yeah.
we tried to record it again, and I tried to get it as close to that original episode as possible, but it just wasn't the same. It's like the magic was gone. So man, that still disappoints me to this day because that episode was so good.
Yeah. I mean, were you able to talk to them again at least?
Yeah, he and I were actually friends. He was very generous to me actually throughout my career. I interviewed him first in 2002 when I first got into the business.
Oh wow.
One of the ways I used
Okay.
to work with people. Now you have to remember when I got in the business, social media didn't exist. No one even had even
Yeah. There was not even YouTube. Is there a way you could put yourself on camera?
Yeah, no YouTube, no Facebook, no Instagram, no Twitter, none of
None
that.
of that.
So the advantage is this: people like him and other reasonably famous people didn't just get inundated with interview requests. So I
Yeah.
had a very high success rate. I still have the audio cassettes because this is so old that what I would do is I had a tape recorder connected to a landline and I would record the conversations and then I would listen to it and transcribe it because you couldn't just send the audio somewhere. It took 5 hours to upload audio and no one had a place to deliver it. So I would transcribe the entire thing. And I was able to network with people that I never would have been able to even talk to if it wasn't for this mechanism. Best-selling authors, high-level people like Paula Quinn in the strength business, and that gave
Yeah.
me a
Paul
lot of
Quinn was the
confidence.
man.
The fact that I could talk to him, that gave me a lot of confidence, and it also let me know that hey, if these people are willing to give you time, why wouldn't average people be willing to give you time? So it was very
Exactly.
selling. But Charles Poliquin was really instrumental because I remember when I did the first interview, he didn't seem like he was that happy with it, was my impression as we were recording. But afterwards, he sent
Yeah.
me an email and said, "Hey, great conversation. You did a really good job." And then when I sent him a copy of the interview after I transcribed it, he was so impressed with how it came out. He said that he told me he had done so many interviews at that time that were terrible, which is probably why
Yeah.
his interview was the way it was. He'd never heard of me. He's like, "Oh, great. Who's this guy? I'm going to waste my time."
Yeah.
Not only did we do a good interview, I got it published in a major publication, not Muscle Media, because Muscle Media 2000 was on its way out at that point. I think it was a magazine that doesn't even exist anymore, but I got it published, and that added more confidence to it. I interviewed Clarence Bass one time, and I got him on the
Okay.
front
Clarence
cover.
Bass. Yeah, I remember reading his articles.
Yeah, that interview with Clarence Bass ended up as the front cover piece on Iron Man
I
magazine.
remember reading him on Grease the Groove,
Yeah, yeah.
which was some of my early training philosophies.
Yeah.
And is there a way you could put yourself on the video camera?
What's that?
Is there a way you could put yourself on the camera?
Oh, I'm not showing up on your side?
No, it's just your avatar.
Yeah, that's really weird. Let me see. That's the other thing that happened to me a while back is I recorded an episode. Let me turn video
But
off,
hey,
back
I
on.
mean, even better than the avatar not showing, at least it's recording all the conversation.
Yeah.
So far, at least the conversation is showing. Because
That's not
if
coming
the whole thing wasn't recording, it would have been bad.
Yeah,
It
no,
would have been like all this just gone.
I'm not coming through at all on your side right now because I'm showing up on my side.
Oh yeah, you see me?
Yeah, I can see you, but you don't see me. My video's not
I
coming.
see you now.
Okay.
Now
Okay.
I see you.
Okay. Yeah, I recorded an episode with my friend Steve Maxwell, and my side, I was frozen on the screen, but I thought maybe that was just me. And he was on a roll, so I didn't want to interrupt him.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, maybe it's just frozen on my side. Nope. It was frozen on everyone's side. And he just didn't think to say, hey,
Yeah.
like you just did. So I recorded this 2 hours, and it's only him. You hear me talking, was like an episode of that one guy who always interviews people, but you don't see what he looks like. It's so
Yeah.
that guy's named Vlad, someone like that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, DJ Vlad, that guy
DJ
who
Vlad.
interviews all these celebrity people.
Right. Yeah, but
But
Poliquin was always very friendly to me, and he actually wrote an article one time talking about what a great strength coach he thinks I am for his website, and that was extremely flattering from a guy.
Yeah,
Caliber.
coming from someone like him, so he also means it.
Yeah. And he helped me a lot with my supplements too. When I started selling my supplements, he said, send me some stuff to try. He liked it. And then I sent him some articles. He published it on his website. He signed up as one of my affiliates, and he sent me a ton of business. And he wasn't doing it for the money. He was super well established at this point. He just was very generous nature that not everyone knew about him. When I hear people talk about Charles, they would often talk about how arrogant he is and he's rude to people. And I never saw that side. Yeah, I mean, maybe it's people just misinterpreting him or just not understanding his quirks. But he was always really cool to me.
Mm-hmm. That's cool, man. Oh, anyway, let's get to it. So introduce yourself. So who are you, and what do you do?
Who am I? I don't know who I am now. I'm in a different phase of life. Who I am in the fitness industry is I'm a guy who played a pivotal role in the modern day kettlebell revolution in 2002. So from 2002 to about 2012, I was extremely active in kettlebell training. I wrote articles for magazines. I taught seminars all around the country, all around the world. I produced videos. This shows you how long ago it was. People actually bought DVDs back then for info and got it in the mail. And then I got burned out with that. After traveling around the world and doing the same thing over and over again, it started feeling too much like a regular job. And that's where I was at before I got into the fitness business. The last thing I wanted to do was that. Now, believe me, if I had to choose between teaching kettlebell seminars every weekend to this day or going back to a 9-to-5 job, I would have done the kettlebell seminar until the day because I'm never working for someone else again. But fortunately, I've always been very lucky that whatever I seem to get interested in is something that's monetizable. Other people get interested in it too. So while I was really active as a kettlebell instructor, I really got into hormone optimization. When I was in my early 30s, I was experiencing some hormonal imbalances, to say the least. I just felt it was mainly from the stress I was dealing with at the time. I had gone through a divorce. My business was barely making it. At one point, I only had $7 left in my bank account, and I was living in an expensive part of Santa Monica. So there was a lot of stress coming in on all sides. And as I got through that, I wanted to fortify my body, make my mind and body a lot stronger. And that led me to hormone optimization. And as I got into the importance of, we hear about the importance of testosterone and growth hormone in the fitness community even then. But as I got into it, I realized there's way more to it than just that. And as I started teaching what I learned at my courses, I just started doing these small presentations. I found that more people cared about that than kettlebell training. And then once I came out with my products, I came out with a natural testosterone booster that my friend Anthony Roberts helped me design. And the most powerful herbs for increasing testosterone are all in Africa. There's bulbine natalensis, there's Fadogia in Nigeria. You're from Nigeria, right? Isn't your
background? Yeah, Nigerian.
That's why you're so strong, Tobi, because you probably ate Fadogia without even realizing
it. Probably some of the stews.
There's a lot of big guys in Nigeria. There's a lot of jacked people in Nigeria. And a lot of times these are poor
all
people.
All from the West Africans, so.
Yeah. So Africa, I think because I think some of these tougher terrains produce these very powerful herbs. So bulbine natalensis is the best out of Fadogia, bulbine, and there's one called Massaloria, which I also believe is in Nigeria. Bulbine only grows in South Africa, and that's by far the strongest out. Now, most herbal testosterone boosters don't do jack. I see these stupid ads on Instagram every day for products that contain tribulus, fenugreek, the usual suspect, tonkat, the usual suspects of nonsense ingredients that don't work for anyone. You may get a very modest increase, but that's not enough to be noticeable. But something like bulbine natalensis works extremely well. And my audience was so hungry for information on how to boost testosterone. And I covered the importance of addressing mineral deficiencies, vitamin deficiencies, sleep. Sometimes that's not enough for everyone, though. They need something to put them over the top, especially as you get older. Things just stop working as well as they used to. And bulbine works extremely well. That's why it's the cornerstone ingredient in one of my products. And as a result of that selling so well, I realized, okay, I don't have to teach kettlebell seminars anymore. I don't have to do online consulting anymore unless I want to. And at that time, I really didn't want to. I was burned out dealing with people. And the transition, fortunately, was smooth. So like I said, I've been really fortunate that whatever I tend to get very interested in is something that generally other people are interested in. And they don't have the time to do the research I do. You know, the book Think and Grow Rich talks about the importance of developing specialized skills. You can't just have generic skills that everyone else has. You have to have specialized knowledge where very few people know what you do, or maybe even no one knows what you do, or maybe no one can explain it as well as you can. But once you have that specialized knowledge, that's more important than any salary someone makes, because that's always going to be something that you can bank on in perpetuity. Hormone optimization is never going to become outdated. It's not going to be something that people like, oh yeah, that was interesting back in the 2015, people cared, and now they don't care. People are always going to care because everyone's getting older.
Of course.
So if you're not experiencing the issues of hormone imbalances now, you will at some point. It's inevitable. So what I teach people to do is why wait for things to become a problem? Do the things now before they become a problem, and then you can age as gracefully as possible. We're all going to get older and we're all going to die. We all know that. But there's different levels. There's people that are 80 and they're still vibrant and independent. There's people that are 80 who have full-blown Alzheimer's. They're living in a senior care home. So these are paths that we can decide which one we're willing to deal with. For me, I'm fiercely independent. I don't want to have to rely on anyone ever for anything for the rest of my life. Yeah. So some people may say that's totally unrealistic. I don't care. My attitude is you take care of your mind, take care of your body, take care of your finances, then you don't have to answer to other people.
Yeah. And yeah, it's important to even set unrealistic expectations as it is. Yeah. Because you have to aim for the moon pretty much.
Yeah.
And as far as testosterone and TRT and stuff like that, yeah, I mean, of course, as you get older, why not definitely live the best quality of life as you just deteriorate in all ways? Why not just be the old guy who's still, even though you're definitely approaching death every year, but you want to make it as least painful as possible and still function, you know?
I want to feel as good as long as possible. You want to feel a lot better as a man if your sex drive is good, if your resilience is good, if your drive is good, not just drive for sex, but just drive to live fully. And those are things that
exactly have the energy.
Yeah, a lot of times you meet older people and they're just beaten down. They're just floating through life. They don't want to do anything. They're extremely sedentary. They have negative views about things. They're complaining about stuff. And then you meet people that are very positive. They're still very active. I have a friend, his name is Alan. This guy's 80, he got divorced recently in Israel. And he comes back to Vegas to visit. These long walks I do every day with my dogs, when he comes back into town, he joins me on those. And these are long walks, up steep hills. Yeah. And he's not even breathing heavy because he works out a couple times a week. More importantly, he works out a couple times a week, and he doesn't eat a super clean diet. He has dessert every day, but he just doesn't overeat everything. But more important than any of that stuff is that his emotional health is on point. He's a very positive person. Yeah, he's a very positive person, because you and I both know this, that you could eat the cleanest diet in the world. You could get to the gym without ever missing a workout. You got your sleep dialed in, but you could still be really unhealthy.
Yeah.
And we see
even
that
mentally, you could be like very erratic.
Yeah.
Freaking pissed off all the time. You could just be a basket case of mayhem and stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. So health goes way beyond all of that. But what you're saying about TRT, my attitude about TRT is this. It should be the last option. In other words, you should do everything you can to optimize your own endocrinology. Now, if you get to the point where nothing is working to the expectation you have, then at that point, it makes sense to add TRT. Now, you can still take things to keep your natural production as high as possible so you don't shut down. Like my friend, Dr. Gordon, he combines TRT with Clomid. Clomid is a fertility drug that a lot of bodybuilders use after cycles to re-ump their testosterone. So what Dr. Gordon does is he gives people Clomid, and if they need a higher testosterone than that delivers, he'll add TRT on top of that. But they still take Clomid so that they avoid testicle shutdown and shrinkage. And then you don't have to take as much TRT because TRT has negatives too. It's not just all positive. So the lowest dosage that gives the biggest benefit possible is always what you want to do. The mistake a lot of these TRT clinics make is you and I could both go to this TRT clinic and we'll have completely different results and they're going to give us the same dosage. Like, hey, Toby, here's 200 milligrams. Mike, 200 milligrams. And you come in every week. And that may be it may be way too much for you. It may not be enough for me, or it may be way too much for me. It's got to be more personalized.
All right. So can you educate us about testosterone in general?
Well, testosterone is often mislabeled as a male hormone, when in reality, it's a hormone that everybody produces. Women produce testosterone too. And just as testosterone is important for men, it's important for women. And just as estrogen is important for women, estrogen actually is important for men too. You don't want to have estrogen levels go too low because if you do, your cholesterol goes way up, your mental functioning declines, and believe it or not, if your estrogen levels go too low as a man, your sex drive will be obliterated. You won't be able to get an erection if your life depended on it. Now, most men fortunately don't have this problem. They have the problem of too much estrogen, so that's a separate thing to deal with. But testosterone is not just important for muscle building, for confidence, all the things you hear about it. Testosterone is really important for heart health, prostate health, every organ health, brain health. Testosterone can convert into, or actually free testosterone penetrates the brain and converts into something called DHT, which is even stronger than testosterone for the virility aspects of it. So this is both important for men and women. The benefits of testosterone go way beyond just muscle building and workout recovery.
Okay, so what are the dangers of having low testosterone?
Well, you're going to look like a woman, for one thing, as a man, unless that's your goal. Unless your goal is to get a sex change, which is fashionable for some now. But when you have low testosterone, you have no drive. You have a hard time getting up in the morning. You don't feel confident that you can achieve anything. Your bone health will be compromised. Your brain health will be compromised. Your heart health, you're more likely to have high blood pressure. So low testosterone is not something to sleep at. Now, what is an optimal testosterone level varies for each person. So like my total testosterone is 700. That's a really good number, especially for a man my age. I'm almost 50. For someone else, though, it may not be enough. They may need to be at 900 to feel the same way I do. Someone else may need to be only at 500 to feel. But the point is you want to get tested, you want to know what your numbers are, and then you want to be really honest with yourself. A lot of guys aren't honest with themselves. They're like, oh yeah, my sex drive's through the roof. Well, in reality, they haven't had an erection in 6 months. They just don't want to admit it. They don't want to come off weak to their friends and all that. And many men, even as they get older, still have this peer pressure syndrome where they want to come off as more as they are. So but when you have issues, do something about it. You don't have to suffer with it. When I was in my early 30s, I had erectile dysfunction. I had no sex drive. It was because of all the stress I was dealing with. And eventually going through enough doctors, I realized, okay, I don't have some arterial problem here. It's just that I'm under so much stress and my hormones are so out of balance that these things are happening. So let me get everything dialed back in. And it actually took a couple of years until I felt really good, because at that time, I didn't have the knowledge I have now. Now it would have been a lot faster. But back then, by the time I was 33, I felt great. I felt genuinely good. The confidence everyone else saw when they came to my seminars, I didn't have to fake project that anymore. It was genuine. It came from a real thing. So to me, testosterone it helps a man be more authentic. All of this posturing you see a lot of men do, trying to come off as the tough guys, those are always the guys with the lowest testosterone levels. The biggest badasses I've ever met in life are the nicest people. I'm talking about killers. I'm talking about people in the military that have gone overseas and killed people. You see them in a civilian setting, they're friendly people. MMA fighters I know who've competed in the UFC, super cool people in person. They don't have anything to prove to anybody. They don't have to overcompensate for anything. I think there's nothing more dangerous than a man, especially a white man, if we're going to be honest here, who feels the need to overcompensate. Because once you feel the need to overcompensate, that's what gets you into a lot of trouble. That's what gets you in the bar fights after having a couple beers. That's what gets you into a lot of trouble.
I agree, man. And when it comes to ideal test levels, what do you think the ideal range is? Like you said, it's kind of different for everybody, but it should be like the Lower upper range or the higher
Well,
upper
the most
range?
important
Or
marker is
what?
free testosterone. Everyone focuses on total testosterone because that's the bigger number. And here's the difference. Total testosterone is the entire amount of testosterone your body produces. Free testosterone is what you actually have access to. So imagine having $1 million in the bank, but you can only pull out $100,000. So in reality, you only have $100,000. That's what you have access to. So total testosterone is almost irrelevant. You almost don't even have to bother measuring it. The most important thing is free testosterone because it doesn't matter what your total testosterone is. If your free testosterone level is low, you're going to feel terrible. I've seen guys with total testosterone of 900, which is a really good number, but their free testosterone is not even detectable. It's all bound up. It's not usable. And then I've seen guys with pretty low testosterone. One guy's testosterone was only 400, but his free testosterone was 100, which is really good. This is a scale of 55 to 155. So if you just looked at total testosterone, you would say, okay, this guy has low testosterone. And if you just looked at total testosterone, the guy with the number 900, you'd be like, oh yeah, your testosterone's through the roof. Just keep doing what you're doing. But the free testosterone reveals what's really going on. So that's the most important number. And I would say with free testosterone, you want to be in the middle of the range all the way to the far end. So the middle of the range is the cutoff point. That's what I consider low good, but you may need to be higher than that to feel really good. Now, you don't know what, so see, the problem here is that no one really knows what feeling good is until you experience it. So you may go get your testosterone levels checked and they feel pretty good. And you're like, okay, I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. But if you bumped it up 100 points, you would feel several times better. Or maybe there wouldn't be a difference, but most likely there will be a difference. So there's what I think a lot of people find frustrating is that this is a process that takes time to get dialed in, and it's going to take some experimentation too. It's not something where you're just going to make one or two changes and you have these dramatic differences in a month. Just like with working out, as you know, you don't build serious strength in 3 months or 30 days. You're just getting into the routine. You know what your goal should be when you start a training program? The first 30 days, your goal should be to still actually be doing that program at the end of 30 days. That should be your only goal. Don't worry about building muscle, losing fat, getting stronger. 30 days, you commit to the process. That should be the number one goal. Because if you can last long enough to achieve everything you want, but you have to last. Most people don't last. That's why they don't make it. They do these New Year's resolutions. They're all gung-ho for 2 weeks. Everyone who goes to a gym knows that January is the busiest month, but usually January 15th, it's back to normal because they established the discipline of committing to a routine. And they were so focused on results that they didn't put excellence into the process. That's why in the Bhagavad Gita, the Hindu text, there's a saying that says, you have a right to your actions, but you don't have a right to the results of your actions. Now, coming from a Western mindset, that sounds nonsensical. I go, why would I do anything without getting the results of my actions? But that's missing the salient point. The salient point is that you don't get distracted by the results. You commit to excellence in the process. You give the process everything you got. You don't have control over the results, but you do have control over your commitment to the process. And the reality is, if you commit excellence to a process, you're going to get those results. Even if you fall short of what you wanted to achieve, you're still going to be way further ahead than you are right now.
I agree, man. And also, when it comes to testosterone, who are some of your mentors when it came to like learning testosterone hormone optimization?
Yeah. Dr. Mark Gordon is a big influence on me. He has been for a long time. I'm happy to say I'm friends with him. I've had him on my show many times. He is actually the most knowledgeable hormone optimization doctor I've ever met. He works with veterans that have traumatic brain injuries.
Oh,
So
wow.
one of the reasons why a lot of soldiers come back from overseas and they're depressed and they're alcoholics is because they've had brain injuries that shut down all of their testosterone and growth hormone production. So Dr. Gordon actually analyzes their profiles. He gets themselves dialed in. And what he does is life-changing for them. He's had people go from depression, suicidal thoughts, not wanting to live, to being vibrant members of society and loving life. So he's the guy I respect most for hormone optimization. I learned a lot from Charles Poliquin. Charles Poliquin was really into hormone optimization. He used to have this biosignature course, which showed that how you store body fat is hormonally related. So if you have a lot of stomach fat, you have high cortisol levels. If you have a lot of glute fat, leg fat, you have really high estrogen levels. And what's scary is I see men with estrogen dominance all the time. I don't even have to see their blood work. They're holding so much lower body fat. That's a clear sign of estrogen dominance. So he was way ahead of the curve, Charles, way ahead. Nobody was talking about hormone optimization when he started talking about it. And then there's another guy named Dr. Nick Delgado. He's really good too. I've learned a lot from him. And then my friend Anthony Roberts, in terms of, as I mentioned, helped me design my testosterone booster. He is very cutting edge on researching ingredients, just combing the research and finding things that work. And that's very difficult too. Most supplement companies, what they do is they spend maybe 10% on research, if even that, and then 90% goes to marketing. So they don't. So people often go, well, how come your T booster is the only one that works? I was like, well, there are a few others out there that are good. I don't think anything is as good as mine. Obviously, I'm selling it, so I'm biased. But they're missing they have a very misguided view of the supplement industry. Most supplement companies don't care if the product works. That's not even a criterion when they design it. They just want to look at, can we sell this? If it doesn't work at all, they can sell 1 million units, they'll push it through, no problem. And the reason why so many supplements have so many ingredients in this proprietary blend, so you can't see what the dosages are, but it allows them to stack way more into it. So now you have 15 ingredients in a product. When in reality, herbal products, you really can't have more than 4, and 3 is usually better to get effective dosages. But with a proprietary blend, they now have 15 ingredients, and now that's more for them to talk about in the advertising. It makes it sound as if the product is more comprehensive. So there's a lot of shadiness in not just the supplement industry. Obviously, there's this kind of behavior in other industries, fitness industry as well. There's a lot of bad. I think the biggest problem we have right now is there's a lot of bad advice being promulgated by people who have no clue what they're talking about. They're just jumping on trends. And this is especially evident on Instagram, which I feel is an extremely unhealthy platform. I'm actually I'm probably going to cancel my Instagram account, but right now I'm going to shut it down for at least a month or two and then decide what I'm going to do with it. But I feel that that's a platform that contributes to people's lack of attention, and it creates narcissistic behavior.
Me too, admittedly.
That don't matter.
Yeah, definitely addicting, especially social media and stuff.
Yeah.
Very, very addicting, because you just find yourself scrolling, looking at other people.
That's all done on purpose. None of that stuff is by accident. And you have to ask yourself, does Mark Zuckerberg use Instagram? He wouldn't touch Instagram with a 10-foot flagpole. He doesn't use it. He's like a drug dealer that doesn't use his own supply. It's the same thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, that's what he's doing. He's taking a page from that book. I doubt he lets his kids use it. And I doubt anyone who's important to him, he's probably said, don't touch this platform. But he's happy to make a ton of money off of it. Yeah. But he knows that it's insidious. It's really bad for mental health. It creates narcissistic behavior. And I think it's extremely unhealthy for women. I see so many smart women on Instagram who fall into the same traps that other women fall into, meaning posting pictures of themselves every day.
Their butts and shit.
They'll pontificate on something. Yeah, they'll have this 500-word write-up about something deep, and then it's a picture of them sitting on the beach with their bare legs completely shown and drinking a Mai Tai. It's like don't act as if you're not trying to get attention, but you're
they'll just quote all that shit. They'll quote everything that they read from whatever quote or from whatever, and then they'll just show a picture of their butt, picture of them like in a sports bra, and do some angles like, hey, look at me, and their lips like and shit like that.
Yeah.
But I guess guys do the same thing when they, like me including, we just show our freaking biceps, we lift heavy weight, we grunt, we think we're so macho man. So I guess it's the Adonis complex, And woman is just like, hey, look at me, I'm pretty. And yet, don't look at me at the same time.
Well, I think a lot of us that are really into physical training, we at least sometimes we put all of our value based on our physical prowess. But even if we're putting all of our value on it, we're putting a lot of value on it. Otherwise, we wouldn't commit to doing this. Why do we working out so hard to look a certain way and present a certain. Obviously, it's important to us, and obviously, we want to be acknowledged for that. I'm not going to say it doesn't feel good when someone comes up to me in the gym.
It does feel good.
Someone comes up to me in the gym after I did something really heavy, going, "Man, you're a beast, man. That's impressive." Of course, it feels good because we're working to be acknowledged for things that are important for you. That always feels good, and there's nothing wrong.
Something that you invested a lot of time in, a lot of passion in. You want to be good at it. I mean, you want to get acknowledged for it one bit, even though that's not the primary reason why you're doing it, but you want to be good at something you care about and something you invest a lot of time into it.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I think what happens with Instagram now is you're going, okay, I can get that kind of attention from people all over the world. So I'm just going to post certain things every day, and I'm going to have people tell me how great I am. Now that's okay, but it becomes a problem when you base your self-worth on the attention you get in social media. Because remember, social media is not the real world. That's not the real world. But the sad reality is that people care more about that world than the real world. It's almost gotten to the point now where everything people do in the real world is to document it for the fake world. Look at all.
You're right when you say that. When you say that, you're right. That's when it becomes a problem.
Like couples that have to post their whole fucking day every single day. Every time they go out to dinner, it's like, hey, me and the hubby going out. Me and my wife be doing this. Like, okay, great. Would you be doing any of those activities if you weren't documenting it? I mean, you should, because that's your relationship is your business. It's not for everyone else to watch, and it should be enjoyable enough in and on its own that you don't need outside attention for it.
Yeah.
But the unhealthiest relationships on Instagram are the ones where people are always talking about how great it is. Now, that's really overcompensating. Believe me, if it's so great, you don't.
That means you have something to prove.
Yeah, you don't even talk about it on Instagram every day. And also, why are you guys talking to each other via Instagram? Don't you live together? Are you around each other? So why are you communicating with someone through Instagram? I don't communicate with my wife through Instagram. She doesn't even have an Instagram account. But if she did, I wouldn't be sending her messages on Instagram. She's right there. I can talk to her anytime I want. When we go out to dinner, I don't even think about taking a picture of it. And if we do, it's for us. I'm not thinking like, oh, this is great. Let's get a picture of this. Because a lot of times it's you want people to. It's almost as if you want people to be jealous of your life. That's why you're doing it.
Yeah.
Like, wow, your wife is so hot. Or like, oh, your husband's so good looking. Oh, you guys have so much fun. You guys are such a fun couple. I wish we were like that. But the reality is that they're not even like that. They're just saying that. It's like reality TV. None of that is real. That's fake low-level acting. It's not real. It's
low level indeed.
Yeah, it's not. It's totally scripted.
Mhm. Yeah, like same with me. I mean, me when I document my progress, it was more like, you know what? I just want to see how I am over the years, see my progress, and I've been doing it since 2010, since early YouTube days, and then Facebook, and then early Instagram. So just been doing over the years. And then when it was other stuff beside lifting, I even sometimes have a disclaimer. I was you know what? Even sometimes in my posts, I'm like, my life is really not exciting. I'm really not doing anything special. I'm doing the same shit everyone else is doing. Yeah. I don't live an exciting life. Most of what you see online for me is what my day is normally.
Yeah.
So it's nothing. I don't live that exciting of a life at all. And
I mean, those of us who are really committed to being strong and fit, there's a level of boredom that's going to come with that. It just has to. Like, look, I lived in Las Vegas. I could go out and get blasted every night if I want to. I could go to a casino and have several drinks every night, play blackjack for 4 hours, but that's going to have a real deleterious effect on things that are important to me.
Yeah.
So it's all about what's important to you. For some people, they're like, I don't care what I look like. I don't care about being weak and unhealthy. I just want to have fun. And hey, that's your prerogative. It's your life to live.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm not a judgmental person. I never tell people how they should live their lives. I don't look at other people and go, oh, that guy's such an idiot. Why is he doing that? If someone gets on Instagram also and they find it satisfying, they're like, hey, I like being on this platform. It's fun. Great. Keep doing it.
Good for you, man.
For me, I find it unhealthy. Now, you could say that maybe it's just unhealthy for me, and that's fine. But once I realize something is unhealthy, why am I going to keep doing it? I like to do these 30-day experiments, right? Like, for example, I love a cup of coffee. I'm drinking one right now.
Yeah.
But it's like, let me just cut coffee out for a month just to see what happens. And I never get the negatives that other people talk about, headaches and withdrawals. But again, I only have 1 or 2 cups a day when I am drinking it. But after a month, you realize how much you enjoy it, not because you're addicted to it. Sometimes I wake up in the morning, I'm like, oh man, I can't wait to go downstairs and get a cup of coffee. It's that much of a pleasure. So why would I deprive myself of that? Because there's a lot of health benefits with coffee too. It's not
A
like
lot of health.
alcohol is all unhealthy. There's no health benefit to alcohol. It's 100% unhealthy. But coffee has a lot of health benefits to it. But more importantly, if it's something you look forward to and enjoy, partake in it. Life is short. We're all going to die. Do things that you enjoy.
Yeah, funny enough, I'm almost like 50 days no coffee whatsoever.
Really?
I don't know how I'm doing it. I mean, I'm somebody that used to drink like, I mean, when I used to do like 2 cups at most. Like
Right.
when I was working a shift, I would do a second cup of coffee before the gym.
Right.
And then normally it's like one morning cup and that's it. Only like what? 2 tablespoons and that'll be it. My college days, I would be like more than 1 cup of black coffee. So
Yeah, we all did in college.
yeah,
College, you're
yeah.
not getting a lot of sleep. You're having a good time.
Oh,
You need that coffee to get. I used to drink like crazy. I drank a ton when I was in high school. I started drinking really early. I was 14, getting blasted. And the funny thing, when I graduated high school, I was starting to get into fitness, so I was getting away from all of that. And I go, man,
yeah,
I'm glad I'm going to college now. People are going to be more mature. I won't get sucked into all this drinking and partying. Yeah, right. For most people, that's where it starts. So
yeah,
I got sucked right back into that lifestyle. Now, I always worked out. The whole time I was in college, I always got my workouts in. It was always important to me. But I'm not gonna lie, I had a really good time too. I used to drink all the time. In fact, I got a
yeah.
job at the only bar in town. I went to the College of Worcester, Ohio, small town.
Okay.
I got a job at the only nightclub in town as a bouncer, just so that I wouldn't drink as much. Because now Friday and Saturday I'm working, so I can't drink because college is like that. So we were all super caffeinated in college. That's not. But how do you feel now? 50 days no coffee.
Oh, shoot. I mean, my sleep got better with it.
Yeah,
I sleep earlier now. I sleep
yeah,
on time, and I actually wake up early, so sleep got better. If anything, sometimes I guess when it comes to the workouts, squats, everything feels heavy on my back. But at the same time, I think it's also a combination of my injuries just even gotten worse. So, but overall, I'm feeling like the main reason why I did it is that I just wanted to see how long I could go without doing anything.
yeah.
So just a specific, just a specific anything, like even if it's pizza, even if it's steak or chicken, whatever, just anything specifically. I want to see how many days I could go without doing a specific task or going without something specific just to see how long I could do it.
Right.
And I also wanted to see like what happens to my body and how I feel if I go all these days without coffee.
Yeah, that's good, man. Those kind of experiments are useful. I like to do these
Yeah.
experiments all the time. You cut something out, see if it's serving you, and you realize, okay, there is some benefit, or maybe there isn't a benefit. You just keep it out.
Yeah, I just wanted to see how long I can take it.
Well, that's developing mental toughness too. When you're resisting the pull of something you enjoy, you're fortifying your will. So those are good
hmm
too. It's good to keep checks on yourself. See you and pull your
Because
in.
because the truth is, there was nothing wrong with drinking coffee at all. Because coffee has a lot of benefits.
Yeah.
Coffee actually helped my workouts, it gave me energy and stuff. And I could go back to drinking coffee and nothing would happen to me. I mean, I'm not gonna die and go to hell. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna get cancer. I'm not gonna get any of that
Right.
shit. So I'll be fine if I drank coffee for the rest of my life. I just want to see how far even if it's not the rest of my life, I don't drink coffee. I just want to see what happens, just so I could take something as far as possible, not doing it for the
Right.
sake of not doing it.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe my body will have a good effect of not drinking it and
Yeah.
not get used to not really depending on caffeine.
Right. Right. No, that's good too. And you may find that you just use it every once in a while. You take a cup of coffee before a more intense workout just to get that
Yeah,
central system hit. I know what you're talking about when you said that when the bar feels heavy on your back. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean when you say that. Because see, coffee is essential nervous stimulant, so it increases your
yeah,
adrenaline. And when your adrenaline is up, you don't feel things as much. And that builds even more confidence because when you're squatting and you take the bar off the pins and it doesn't feel heavy,
yeah,
oh, and I'm going to crush this. But when you take it off the pins and it feels like the whole weight of the world is on your back, that's a confidence killer right there. That's the
it
one thing
is.
about squat is the squat, you have a chance to build confidence before you execute the lift, the concentric portion. While deadlifts, it's either there or it isn't. There's no feeling in
Hmm.
the process. So when you deadlift, you have to get everything dialed in, and then you just have to not give up when it feels difficult.
Yeah,
That's it's harder to it's difficult to describe it beyond that, but you basically have to say, okay, I'm gonna keep my hands on this bar and I'm gonna hang on until I finish this lift.
yeah. Recently, those are my two biggest lifts that took a hit: squat and deadlift.
Yeah.
Deadlift is also because of my spine issues.
Mm,
Anything past 315 feels like a max, and
yeah.
405 just feels like a grinder. And I'm somebody who deadlifts in the 700s, so
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
that's crazy. And I'm somebody that even earlier this year I got up to 7 plates, no problem. So it should AK 675. So
That's great,
I'm
man.
just it's just a matter of figuring out. I mean, this is a lifestyle, so ups and downs. I'll get injured one point, and then I'll recover again. Just learning my body more.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I
Anyway,
love, but I don't go super heavy for me on deadlifting anymore. In fact, I haven't deadlifted in 2 months. I just needed a mental break from it. But
yeah,
plus, I've been obsessed with Nordic curls, and Nordic curls work your hamstring.
okay,
Yeah, I'm not saying that Nordic curls are a replacement for deadlifts because you can't just do Nordic curls and then be strong on a deadlift. But it does work a lot of the similar muscles
yeah,
that it will carry over, no doubt about it. But I just needed a break from deadlifts because I get these psychological obsessions with certain lifts. I remember like every young kid, I was obsessed with the bench press when I first started doing that.
yeah,
Think about is how to improve my bench press. And then with kettlebells, I was obsessed with double kettlebell pressing. How strong could I get with that? And then I became very obsessed with deadlifts. And the good thing about that is that's how you get really good at something. But the bad thing is you can take it to a place where now it's negative for your body. You don't want to get injured doing this stuff. You don't want to be beaten down. Now, you don't want to be 60 and you're paying the price for things you did when you were 30. Now, that's the thing that a lot of people unfortunately don't realize until it's too late. So, but my attitude is, am I building myself up or am I breaking myself down? And right now, I want to feel good. I don't want to be someone who is sedentary, forced to be sedentary because you have so many injuries. And when I talk to a lot of people that competed in powerlifting, a lot of times they're really beaten down. They've had hip surgery, they've had hip replacement surgery, they've
yeah,
had knees blown out, their shoulders are blown out, they've torn pecs. It takes a real toll. Remember Louis Simmons towards the end of his life? He was just in constant pain.
yeah,
Because he's like, my life is pain. I just accept it. He's in constant pain, and he couldn't even do any of the things that he liked, that he enjoyed anymore. He couldn't deadlift anymore. He couldn't squat anymore. That's just not. I'm not willing to pay that price personally. If someone else is, that's great. That's your choice. But for me, I rather, especially at this stage, I'm going to be 50. I mean, what am I trying to prove to anyone at this point? It's right now when I work out, it's for fun, and it is fun for me because I don't have that pressure on myself anymore. Not to say that you shouldn't have goals, and it's always fun going after goals, but I don't need validation from anyone else at this point. This stuff is for me. Working out has always been for me, and that's the best benefit because no matter what's going on in your life, I've been through divorces, I've lost family. My mother died in 2015. My father died last year. I've dealt with plenty of loss. I went through serious abuse as a child. Working out has always been therapeutic for me though, because no matter what, working out is going on with you. You got relationship problems, you can still work out. Spouse just died, you can still work out. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't embrace sadness because that's part of the human condition. You shouldn't distract yourself from it. But working out is always something positive you can do for yourself, no matter what. And you're always going to feel better. It may not make the problem you're dealing with go away, but you're going to feel better. And sometimes that is absolutely essential.
I agree. I mean, you said it all right there, man. And so okay, let me say more. All right, so what got you into working out in the first place?
Got me into working out. I was drinking and partying. I was this heavy metal kid, so I was really into just doing a lot of drugs, drinking, going out, having a good time. And I remember when I was 18, I felt like I was 50. I felt terrible. I go, man, I looked in the mirror one day and I had this little gut and no muscles anywhere. I was like, man, I look like shit. I feel like shit. I look like shit. I was like, I got to do something about this. And then my dad bought me this Weeder barbell set that probably every kid starts out with.
Yeah, the Weeder set.
It was just a bench, and then I think it was maybe 200 pounds of weights, and not even an Olympic barbell, one of those cheesy barbells that probably weighs 20 pounds. But hey, it was a place to start. And this is one of those benches where if you put too much weight on one end, the whole thing would flip over. So you always had to have a counterbalance on the other side. But I did what every young man does, and I still see this bad advice being promulgated today. All I did was bench press and curls. That was it. Never did any leg work, didn't do rows because I didn't know much. But that was a start. And here's the thing. Once I remember the first time I tried bench pressing 140, I got pinned with it. I had to flip the bar off of me. So I was by myself. But that was actually very motivational because I go, man, I'm so weak. I became obsessed with getting stronger. I remember when I worked up to a 200-pound bench press, I felt like the strongest man in the world. Going to have dinner with my parents and grandparents, I was like, man, I'm a badass. I just bench pressed 200 pounds. Like my confidence was through the roof. And then I became obsessed with getting to 300 pounds, which I did. Never made it to 400 pounds, but I got pretty close. I got up to 365. But the obsession with the bench press was good because it got me obsessed with training. And then eventually I learned how to actually work out properly. I was like, hey, maybe I should train my legs too, start doing some squats. And maybe I should do some pull-ups and some rows, not just doing curls and bench presses. Curls for the girls and pecs, right? That's what we're all obsessed with. And then I have a very addictive personality. So it's important for me to have positive things to channel that addiction to, because that's just who I am. I have a very strong addictive personality. If I like something, I want to really partake in that. So what happened is I had a shift from partying, drinking, drugs, partying. All of a sudden that shifted to training. And I became obsessed with learning about diet, learning about training. I was a vegetarian at the time. I became vegan when I was 20. So at that point, it became an interesting experiment of, okay, everyone says you can't get strong as a vegetarian. And there really weren't any examples for me to say otherwise. But I thought to myself, I was like, I bet that's not true. I just need to figure out these things. I need to dial it in. So my diet actually became a lot better. I learned my vegetarian diet became way better because I learned about the importance of protein intake and fat intake and carbohydrates and balancing macronutrients. And that had a profound effect on my mental health. And then my training progress was a lot better too. So even when I got into college, I was still working out. I used to work out several times a week. My diet was nowhere near as good as it is now because I was poor at that time. I'm living off of ramen noodles and canned beans and whatever you can get your hands on. I didn't have a lot of money to just blow on good food. And I lived off campus. I wasn't going to the cafeteria, which is better. Cafeteria food is terrible. You're not going to get progress on that. That's for sure. That's depressing. But I got into training mainly because I was really insecure as a young man. That's why I spent so much time partying and drinking, because it was a way to distract myself from that. And I was especially very insecure with talking to women, just painfully shy, no confidence. In my mind, I was like, why would any woman be attracted to me? I'm not attractive. So the idea of walking up to a woman and trying to start a conversation and asking her out for a date, that was petrifying to me. But when I started lifting weights, I developed way more confidence, not because of the attention I was getting from others. That helped too. but I just liked what I saw. I carried myself differently. All of a sudden, I'm walking with my shoulders back. When you're strong as a man, it carries over to everything else you do, because you know you can handle. When you can persevere physically, you learn a lot about yourself. You learn how to build yourself up, how to transform yourself. So after I got that, I go, okay, what else can I take charge of? Now I'm pretty strong. I'm way more confident. I still have this shyness problem though, so I just need to get through that. And the best thing that helped me with that was I had a sales job after college where you basically had to talk to strangers and you dealt with rejection all day long. And I realized, okay, rejection's not that bad. So I can go ask girls out now, and if I get rejected, no big thing. That's what I deal with my sales job all the time. And like every guy, I had my share of rejection, but I also had my share of yeses. And when you're a shy guy, insecure, talking to women, when women actually respond positively, that's a huge confidence builder. You're like, wow, she's actually interested in, and that builds confidence even more. And then I was also very shy with public speaking, and when I was forced to do public speaking through this sales job. And once you have a lot of confidence as a public speaker, that carries over to everything you do, because most people are petrified of public speaking. Even if it's a small group of 20 people, you could have 20 people in your house, and these are people you know, and someone says, hey, Toby, get up there real quick and talk about this. You'll be like, yeah. But I have no fear of public speaking whatsoever because I did it so much through the seminars. So I think a lot of times life is about getting over fears, getting over insecurities. And I think a problem a lot of young men deal with right now is they don't have to approach women in the real world and face face-to-face rejection. Everything is done on Instagram or TikTok or these dating platforms people use. So by the time you meet the woman, you already know she's interested in you. But can you walk up to a stranger and be like, hey, I just noticed you from the other side of the room. I had to tell you, you're breathtakingly beautiful, and you go right into it. Can you do that? And she might be like, well, I'm married, or I've got a boyfriend, or I'm not interested, or just some way of saying I'm not interested. A lot of times when a woman says I have a boyfriend, whether she does or not,
they're not interested.
that's just her way of letting you down, rather than saying I'm not interested in you. You know, that's what she's thinking in her head, but she doesn't want to be rude. So
I don't want to sleep with you. That's what they do. But anyway, more on the woman stuff. How about lifting weights for women? Do you think muscles get the ladies?
It's not that important to women as men like to think. Okay, so if you have a really healthy physique, women are shallow in different ways than men are. Men are really shallow when it comes to the way a woman looks. We're very visual. So a woman has to be good looking for most of us to be interested. She could have all these other great qualities. She could be the nicest person in the world. She could be a great conversationalist. But if there's no physical attraction, then there's no
physical attraction.
Yeah, you can be friends, but there's no point in lying to yourself.
And honestly, even if the physical attraction is not there and you make it work, you'll eventually find someone who is physically attractive. Exactly. And then that's when you could get yourself into trouble, possibly.
That's exactly what happens. Yeah, exactly what happens. You're going to meet that person that really is physically attracted to you, and you're physically attracted to her, and you're going to be going, what am I doing in this relationship?
Yeah.
It happens all the time too. So men are very shallow when it comes to the way women look. Women are more shallow when it comes to what men have. So women care more about what your income is, what your status is, and where you're trying to go in life. That's why you see a lot of good-looking women with, let's be honest, guys that are not remotely good-looking. They're bald, they're 50 pounds overweight, but they got a good-looking woman. Why? Because they're a provider. That's more important. Now, if you're the most ripped guy in the world, but you work at the gas station, and I'm not demeaning working at the gas station.
No, I know what you mean, though.
It's not a job anyone shows off about. Let's put it that way. If you tell a woman you work at the gas station, she's not going to be impressed. Whether that's right or wrong is immaterial. It's just a fact. So women care. So if you have a nice physique, absolutely, it's going to help you attract women. Okay, 100%. Of course it is. But it's more icing on the cake if you have everything else.
Everything else, right?
Very financially well off, and you're very driven with whatever you're doing. Women love confidence. That's really what it comes down to. So if you exude genuine confidence, you're going to attract women. And women notice whether you have confidence or not the second you walk in the room. They know whether it's fake or not. They almost have a sixth sense for that. They know. Yeah. They also know when a guy's a chump, and then they can just manipulate this guy in their fingertips. Women have really strong intuition, but women are lying if they say that what a guy looks like doesn't matter, because that's bullshit too. It definitely matters to them. They're just willing to accept less than that if the guy provides other things. But my attitude to that is, I don't want to be with a woman if she's not attracted to me. I'd rather be with a woman who is maybe not what I think is the ideal, but she's actually attracted to me. I'd rather be with that than a woman who is not, she doesn't find me remotely attractive. She's just with me because I'm financially successful. I know a lot of guys.
I don't want that either, because the woman will still cheat on you if she's not attracted to you.
Yeah, exactly. The pool guy's going to come
She'll
over.
She'll treat you with the pool guy or the buff dude that works in the gas station. So.
Well, men and women cheat for different reasons. Men cheat because there's an opportunity. It could be as simple as that. It may not mean anything, but if there's an opportunity, so you're like, what the hell, right? Now, women, on the other hand, married women or women in relationships, they will cheat when they are not getting love, affection, and desire. Those things are important. If they're getting love and affection but no desire, that's not enough. That makes them, someone else comes along and shows them desire, that's going to be very compelling to them. So it's more of an emotional type thing.
Emotional.
Why women cheat. It doesn't even, the guy they cheat with may not even be better looking than their husband, but he's making her feel a certain way.
Yeah.
Sometimes men cheat also because the woman is making him feel like the king of the world. He's like, man, my wife hasn't had this desire for me in forever. And this woman at the office is, every time I walk by, she can't keep her eyes off of me. And let's be honest, we all like that. Okay, we all like that kind of attention. So women like it more than men because women get a lot more attention. That's just the way it is. But go like
women have more options. So
just
from being a woman automatically. So
when women spend their days just rejecting options, right? It's like, nope, not interested. Nope, not interested. Nope, not interested.
Most of the time, the guy is the one actually having to fight to get the woman, and the women are the ones who have to saying yes and no.
Yeah. If you're a good-looking guy and confident and desirable to women, there's going to be women that it's not going to be the same way that when men find women attractive. In other words, if I go walking around somewhere and let's say women find me attractive, they're not going to just come running up to me and going, "Oh my God, handsome." I just had to tell you, I saw you from the other side of the room and I had to run over here and tell you.
That's not going to happen.
Not going to happen. What they'll do is they'll make it known that they find you, that they're interested. But now it's up to you to make some kind of initiation. That's the difference.
Yeah, you have to. They'll just signal maybe just what their signals are, and then you just have to be the one that strut your chest and shit, and just talk with confidence, make your move.
Yeah. But my attitude is always like, this. A lot of times people feel they have to play up all these stupid games. Like a guy's like, okay, I got to be this way, otherwise she's not going to want this, and blah blah blah.
Just relax, man. Just chill. Just chill. Be yourself, man.
The one that wants to be with who you really are, not this fake act you're putting on. That's the other thing too.
Yeah.
And just be a cool guy. That's what I always tell people. Just be a cool guy. Be a polite guy. Be chivalrous. Those are all things that go a long way. Be a polite guy. You go out to a date with a girl, don't talk the whole time. Ask her questions about herself and get to know her rather than you talking about how great you are for an hour and she's just sitting there listening to it.
Yeah. Yeah, just be yourself, just relax, and then eventually someone will come.
Yeah.
Some ladies won't like you immediately. Some ladies, it won't work out, but someone will. More than one person will,
Yeah, that's true.
And what do you think helps? I mean, I think we probably talked about it the most, but what advice would you give for guys who have problems getting women or need help getting women, and they want to really just be able to be the type of guy that, not just attractive woman, but have no problems talking to women or getting women? What's your advice?
Well, I mean, I think the most important thing is work on yourself. Improve yourself on multiple fronts. Improve yourself physically, improve yourself financially, improve yourself morally, improve yourself spiritually. Just make yourself a beacon of attractiveness just by categorically improving yourself on multiple levels. It's always best to work on yourself, because I'm a strong believer in positioning versus prospecting. Okay, positioning is, in the example of the fitness industry we're both in, positioning is I write an article on a high traffic website and it establishes value and people come to me, not me sending 100 emails out to strangers going, hey, take a look at what I'm doing. That's prospecting. Knocking on people's doors and try to sell something, that's prospecting. Prospecting is never effective. Positioning is extremely effective. So if you work on yourself and improve yourself categorically, you're going to have options coming to you because that's so rare. It's rare for women to find exceptional men. Talk to any woman. How often does she find an exceptional man? An exceptional man on multiple fronts? It's not often. Most people settle in relationships. Most women especially settle. They realize, okay, this is the best I'm going to get, so let me just go with this guy type attitude. And I think the best thing you can do as a man is work on yourself, because there's no magic line you're going to say to a woman that makes her fall in love with you. Be like, oh, if I just say this, she's going to think I'm great. No, she's gonna feel something from you that is attractive. So the more you work on yourself, look, the more successful I became in the industry, the more attention I got from women. I never got attention from women ever before I got into the fitness industry. Not in college, not in high school. Once I got into this industry and I became successful in this industry, and it's not because I'm successful in this industry, it's because I'm successful in something I care about. So you carry yourself differently. You carry yourself with confidence. You talk differently. Everything about you changes. And now you attract way higher quality than you would have before too, because you have so much more to offer. So I think the best thing any guy can do is just work on yourself. Work on yourself. Improve yourself as much as you can. And when it comes to talking to women, just be a polite guy. Be a cool guy. You don't have to use some cheesy line. You don't have to use some ice. Just be a cool guy. There's an episode of
Don't know
MASH.
you're faking it.
I used to love MASH, right? MASH was my mom's favorite show. So I grew up watching that. And it was one of the ways we bonded. I used to watch when I would come back from college. She and I would watch MASH all day, just like a MASH marathon. And that was always fun for me because it was time spent with her. I still watch that show now whenever I miss her, which is often. So I watch the show sometimes an episode before I go to bed. But there's this one episode where a character is trying to hit on a woman, and she's not interested. He keeps using these one-liners, and she goes, well, all you do is speak in one-lines. And then the guy goes, well, look, how do I do it? How do I tell a woman that I find extremely attractive and I can't keep my eyes off of her? How do I tell her? How do I express that to her? So and then after he said all that, she goes, wow, that's good. I like that. Sit down. So
that's
sometimes no one likes rude people. No one likes people that are crass. No one likes that. It's not attractive. Be a cool guy. Be a gentleman. Another person I always admired this guy. I don't try to be like him because you shouldn't try to be like anyone else, but I always admired the way this man carried himself. I don't know if you remember Ricardo Montalban. He played Mr. Rourke on Fantasy Island. He always had this suit on. He was Khan in Star Trek 2. Now this is way before. This. I'm showing my age here, okay? But anyway, what I liked about Ricardo Montalban, the actor, is that if you watch him in any interview, he is the classiest guy in the world. He carries himself with so much class and charisma, extremely well spoken. And I guarantee you that guy had no trouble whatsoever with women. He probably had women that couldn't wait to meet him, not just because he's a celebrity, but because he carried himself so well. Consummate gentleman. You carry yourself really well, you're going to stick out, because a lot of guys don't carry themselves well. A lot of guys are gross. They walk around burping in front of women thinking that's cute. It's not.
That's crazy, man.
They're crass. They talk. They're cussing every other word. You sound like an idiot. I cuss from time to time myself, and I want to make a point. But I remember I was at the valet at the Cosmo waiting to get my car, and there was a young lady there talking to a guy she hadn't seen in a while. She was probably in her early 20s. Every other word was the F-bomb. And it was so unattractive to me. I go, this girl, visually, she looks attractive. Like the second you see her, like, yeah, good looking girl. But within a minute of overhearing her talk, there was no attraction whatsoever.
No.
Dumb women. And that might sound like a mean thing to say, but I'm not.
No, you're speaking facts, man.
Well, I'm not a guy who will be with the dumb woman who's super physically attractive, and that's going to be enough for me. It's not. I'm an intellectual guy. I'm a cerebral guy. I'm a guy who works on myself. So I like having interesting conversations. Now, if you're going to be married to a woman or she's your significant other, if those things are important to you, then she has to have those things. Otherwise, what are you guys going to talk about? You can't just have sex all the time.
Yeah, I actually, I'm the same way. I mean, I'd rather Also have some sort of personal connection, you know?
Yeah. Common interests, something. That's why a lot of times women and men meet at the gym if it's important to them because they both love it. So right away you have that in common. That's not always enough. In fact, it's not enough, but it's a start. It's somewhere to start. And then you see where it goes from that. But I always say, like, man, work on yourselves and you'll do a lot better. And work on things that you don't like about yourself because you can always change those things. We all have things we don't like about ourselves, and we don't just have to accept them. We can change those things. I didn't like being shy. I didn't like being in this fear-based state all the time. Where I wanted to be who I am now, honestly, as cheesy as that sounds. Like, who I am now is what I wanted to be back then. When I got into the fitness industry, as I go, this is who I want to become. And I became, because I had the courage to pull the trigger and actually go after something I want. Before I got into the fitness industry, I was doing these soulless jobs. And the best paying job I ever had was the last one I had before that I got fired from. And I was a director of business development at this internet company, a startup, a .com. And I was making the most money I had ever made at that time. It didn't change anything about my mental health. I was still, if anything, I was more depressed because I hated going to this job. Just driving there, I hated going to this job. And there were times, honestly, if I'm being brutally honest, there were times where I go, man, if I got into a car accident and died right now, that would be a relief. So I don't have to do this job. Now, some people will be like, oh, that's so spoiled. You know how lucky you are to have this job. And other people, I was like, yeah. You know what? That's other people. That has nothing to do with me. So don't try to guilt trip me with some nonsense. It's like, oh, how many people are starving? It's like, yeah, well, me not eating doesn't help them. So just shut up with that. Like, I realized real fast that if I'm not really interested in something, I'm not going to do well at it. And I'm also going to be very depressed because I'm prone towards depression as it is. It's easy for me to spiral into full-blown depression. So this job, I hated this job, and I was in a marriage at the time with someone that was really bad for me. So it was personal life stress, and I'm making money, but I'm making money doing something I hate. And I remember when I got fired, but I wasn't going to quit the job because it was too much security. This is the first time I'm making money, so I can't quit this. What am I going to do? I have nothing going on. I wanted to get into the fitness industry, but I just didn't see a route. I didn't see a route of success, so I just kept waiting. And then one day, a good friend of mine who was really into jiu-jitsu and martial arts asked me about kettlebell training. He goes, what do you think of this? And I go, I don't know, it looks pretty cool. And I got into Pavel's work. I read his Power to the People book, which I thought was great. Kettlebell DVD. I was like, man, this is awesome. And I thought to myself, I go, this is such a different way of lifting weights than what we see at the gym. It's very ballistic and fluid, and you're working on your core. I go, I bet this is something that would take off. A lot of people can make a home-based workout system around this training tool. You're not going to do a 500-pound squat lifting kettlebells, but most people don't care about that. They just want to be fit and strong and look good.
Yeah.
And you can do it with one or two kettlebells in your closet. You live in an apartment, you can get a quick workout in 30 minutes. A lot of people are going to find that appealing. They don't want to go to a gym. They don't want. So anyway, once I started training with kettlebells, I realized this stuff is awesome. This is exciting. And that's when I went and took Pavel Tsatsoulin's course. I got certified in his kettlebell system. And then soon after that, I got fired from the job I had. But the difference now is I go, I'm going to go balls deep into this kettlebell world, okay? I'm going to put everything I got into kettlebell training. But I didn't have any confidence as an instructor. I go, no one's going to pay me for this right now. Who am I? So what I did is I created my own internship. I contacted a group of volunteer firefighters, and I said, hey, I'm a new personal trainer. I'm a new fitness guy. How about I come train you guys for free every week at class? And they're like, yeah, sure. No one's making them that kind of offer. So for about 8 weeks, I met up with these volunteer firefighters, and I trained them once a week for 8 weeks. After the first 2 times doing it, I go, you know what? I'm actually pretty good at this. It gave me a lot of confidence. I can tell by their reaction that they're having fun. I can tell by their reaction, they're understanding what I'm saying. And more importantly than any of that, I was having a blast doing that. I was having more fun working for free, training these firefighters than I ever did at any job I ever had. It was so gratifying to do something that I enjoy and that people cared about. Because most people, how many people have a job where people tell them, your work has had such a positive impact on my life, thank you? Barely anyone ever hears that.
Very few.
Every day now, since I've been in the fitness industry, every day I get emails from someone saying, man, your work made this much of a difference to me. And that's incredibly gratifying. But the first time it happened, I was like, wow, this is addictive. I can't believe people are actually going to pay me to do this. So after doing the internship with the firefighters I created, I did my first kettlebell workshop in McLean, Virginia, where my parents live, in a park nearby. And it was 5 people that came out. And I remember exactly how much money I made that day. I made $480. And that was the most satisfying $480 I ever made, because it was so much fun teaching this stuff and working and meeting similar minded people. Because the people, I became friends with a lot of people who came to my courses because they're really into fitness. A lot of them were really into the same things I'm into. They're into the similar music, they're into fitness, they're into MMA. So you found a lot of people with common interests, and it was cool for them too, because they don't know anyone like that. So they would come to my course and become friends with other people at my courses, because they're finally meeting people that are more their vibration than what they're used to. So once that day, I go, okay, I know I'm in now. Between that and all the interviews I did, as I talked to you about, talking to influential people I admired, I had a lot of early successes that galvanized my commitment to the whole approach. I go, okay, I know I can be successful in this. Now, there were definitely hard times in those first couple of years. As I told you, at one point, I had a really bad case of pneumonia. I lost 30 pounds, mainly muscle. I looked like shit. I felt like shit. And then I only had $7 left in my bank account. So I go, okay, you know what? I have to get a job now. So I remember taking my dog Mona for a walk in Santa Monica, and I'm walking around going, okay, this is going to suck, but let me go get a regular job for, who knows, maybe 6 months, rebuild my bank account, and then I can try this again. And I had basically decided that's what I was going to do. But then as I was walking Mona around the promenade, I walked by an office building, and I saw all these people in the offices doing what I used to do. They're at a computer with a shirt and tie on, doing this boring ass work that nobody is excited about. And at that point I go, no, I'm not going to go work for someone else. I go, why waste my time working for someone else? All the effort I'm going to put into getting a job and working for someone else, put that into your business. You can turn this thing around. So I just leveraged credit card debt for about 2 months to keep myself above water. And then I started turning things around, started getting paid for articles. I couldn't teach any workshops because I was in such a depleted state. I couldn't let anyone see me the way I looked at this point. 30 pounds weaker, I couldn't lift any heavy kettlebells. But what I did is I promoted workshops 3 months out. I go, hey, in 3 months, I'm doing this. And then that made me get super committed to training and getting my health back. And by the time I started teaching courses, I was back in business. I was looking good, I was feeling good, and I never looked back after that. After that, my income started, I developed a livable income, which at that time is, I remember my second year in the business, I made $35,000. And that was for a single guy living on his own to keep going. It's not a great income, especially if you have a family. It's not even a great income now if you're one person, but it's a livable income. And that's all that mattered to me is, if I can create a livable income, then I can just build it up from there. The next year I made $65,000, which was the most I ever made.
That's like almost double.
Yeah. And then after that, Toby, the fourth year in the business, I went from 65,000 to 176,000.
Oh.
And it's been 6-figure
territory. The dream, man. I would love to make 6 figures, even upper 5 figures, just from training people. That'd be more than enough for me.
Yeah. It was more than I expected to make, honestly. So at that point, there was never looking back. I go, I'm never going to work for someone else again, ever. Never going to.
I wouldn't either.
Smart with my finances. I invest properly. I didn't just blow money as I made it like a lot of idiots do. I didn't go out and buy expensive cars. I had this beaten down Honda Civic forever. And my wife, then girlfriend at the time, said, "You're making good money now, Mike. Why are you still driving this piece of crap?" And I was like, I don't care about cars. The car is just to get from point A to point B. It means nothing to me.
That's
I don't
how
care about expensive clothes and expensive jewelry. None of that stuff means anything to me. I could go buy any car I want right now. I could care less though. None of that stuff matters. But because of her influence, I did go buy a Hummer H3 used. It only had 6,000 miles on it, but I bought it straight up. And I still have that car now. This is 2010, it's 2023. I still drive the same car. It still looks great, it works great. I don't care about getting another. I'm gonna drive this car until the day it stops working. And I don't care how many miles run. I don't care about stuff like that. But I will say that it was a big upgrade. You know, once I started driving that, I was like, oh, okay, this is a much different experience than what I was doing. But I think so. It's important to have fun with the money you make too, but do things that are actually important to you, because you don't want to just work all the time and you save money. I know people that are in their 70s and they can't spend money. I go, look, you're lucky if you have 10 years left. You should be spending all the money in the world right now just doing fun stuff. They're like, well, I got to make sure my kids are taken care of. I go, it's not your responsibility to make sure your kids are taken care of. Your kids are 45 and 50. You know, like when my dad passed recently, he made a lot of bad financial decisions. So let's just put it this way. The amount of inheritance that my brother and I expected to get is considerably lower than what it would have been if he didn't make all these bad decisions. But my attitude is, I didn't expect any. I told him before he died, I was like, look, if you want to give all your, because my dad had a lot of faults like we all do, but he was a very generous guy. He used to go out to Africa all the time. He worked for the IMF, so he was a real expert in Africa. He'd been to every country in Africa multiple times. And he had a very strong affinity for orphans in Africa. So he would bankroll an orphanage in Uganda and one in Kenya, and he would visit often to see what he could do to help these kids out. And I told him, I go, look, if you want to earmark whatever you were going to give me to help those orphans, I'm okay with that. Now, you've done enough for me. You put me through college. You helped me throughout my life. I don't need anything else from you. Now, you've done more than enough. If you want to donate all that money to the charity, go for it. I don't think he did that, but I wish he did that rather than blow it on the dumb things he did blow it on. That's too long to get into, but he made a lot of bad financial decisions towards the end of his life, and he got suckered by a bunch of people that hoodwinked him, which is unfortunate. It happens to a lot of older people. But whenever I see older people that still can't spend money, and I'm like, look, I understand you want to have enough money to get through your own life. But at the same time, you don't want to be the wealthiest person in the graveyard. You know, you don't work for that.
The money doesn't come with you after you're dead. So
you might as well, you better enjoy it while you last. So I'm pretty good at enjoying things that I like to do, that I like to do. I like to go to concerts. And I remember the first time I remember the Scorpions was one of my favorite bands growing up. So when they came out here in 2012, I go, you know what? I've never done a front row at a concert before. Let me see what the tickets are. And it was $300. I was like, screw it, front row, $300. That's not bad. And I went and experienced a front row experience at a concert. It was awesome. And I love doing VIP experiences for things like that. You know, when I fly, I always fly first class or economy plus, because when I used to fly overseas, I would do coach. And then one day I decided, let me try economy plus to see if there's a difference. And it was a huge difference. And I never went back to coach. So I think sometimes when I know people that just spray the money hose indiscriminately, and you don't want to do that. They're in massive debt. You have massive debt, and you're a slave to the people you owe debt to. Okay, if you have a lot of debt, you're a slave. Period. I don't care what your ethnic background is. You're a slave. So that's one extreme that you don't want to be at. Now the other extreme is that where you're real cheap with everything. You're pinching every penny. You don't want to spend money on anything. You don't do anything fun because you look at the cost. That's a scarcity mindset that's not healthy either. Sometimes the best thing you can do to make more money is you go blow it on something fun, because that you're going to feel so rewarded for doing that you're now motivated to make more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. And okay. So what else do I got? Okay, so more on okay, so about sports. Did you play any sports growing up, or any sports you're into, or not at all?
Ironically, I'm probably one of the least athletic people you'll know.
In fact, I think there's only one less athletic person than you.
Yeah, no. Believe me. What's funny, I have certain skills that give the illusion of being really athletic. Like I'm good at certain things. Like for example, I'm pretty good at
the balance board.
Well, I'm pretty good at box jumping, right? I worked up to a 50-inch box jump. It's not elite.
Oh, wow.
The average person can't do that, box jumps.
I can't do that.
Yeah, so I'm actually pretty good at box jumps. And if I post a clip of me doing box jumps, it gives the illusion that I'm really athletic, which I'm not, but I'm just good at that. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty good at skateboarding.
Yeah,
I'm not
skateboarding.
exceptional at it, but I'm pretty good at it. Enough that I can have
I can't
a
skateboard at all. I never got past an ollie. I couldn't even do an ollie. So anyway, you say
good
you're the
at
least unathletic person. I am extremely unathletic, even more than you. Very unathletic.
yeah.
Unathletic black guy who can't play basketball, didn't play football, just suck at every sport.
Yeah, I didn't play
That's
any.
why I lift weights.
I didn't play any sports in high school. I wasn't even athletically. Believe me, people that knew me in high school, sometimes I hear from them now, and they are just mystified by the transformation. They can't believe this is how I turned out, given who I was in high school. When I was in high school, I had dreadlocks. I was 155 pounds soaking wet, and I smoked cigarettes. I did weed. I did acid. I did cocaine. I drank. I was just extremely self-destructive. People probably thought I would be in dead or in jail by the time I'm 21. But they didn't see that whole transformation I made. Now, if I went to a high school reunion, I guarantee you no one would know who I am.
They'll be
Guarantee.
like, hey, what the hell happened to you, man? You freaking age your old self.
Yeah.
Then your bullies will be like, hey, man, I know why you got so big and strong that you plan on coming to the high school reunion to whoop my ass. So to prevent you from whooping my ass, I want to apologize for
No,
for getting you this big.
If I ran into people I used to bully me now, I could break them over my kneecap. I could break them over my kneecap. Because the average person my age looks like shit too, let's be honest. I'm almost 50.
Yeah, they
Most people don't keep up to the level of fitness that I have, that's for sure. So most people look like crap. Most people accept that they're going to have a gut at this age and that they're going to be weak and that it's their wife thinks it's cute that you have bitch tits and a gut. She doesn't. She doesn't think it's cute at all. You take your shirt off, she's not remotely attracted to you. But when Daniel Craig takes his shirt off in the James Bond movie, she's aroused, right? These are just facts. Everybody likes things that look good, period. Women do too. So that's just reality there. But yeah, I wasn't athletic at all when I was in high school. And it's amazing to me that I went as far as I did with physical training because I never realized what I went. I'm not the strongest guy in the world by any means, but I'm stronger than most people. I go in the most. I'm stronger than most people in there. That's just a fact. And when you look at my background as someone who was not athletic, who was not naturally strong, I was not naturally strong at all. Couldn't do a pull up to save my life when I tried the first time. Couldn't bench press 140 pounds. So for me to go on deadlifting 600 pounds to bench pressing 365 to doing weighted pull-ups with a ton of weights to doing Nordic crawls that I can do now. That
Nordic crawls are hard.
It's amazing that what you're capable of. Yeah, Nordic crawls last year I couldn't do one if my life depended on it. Now I can do it with perfect technique. And it's just it was just committing to a process. So every time you get better at something that you're not good at, you build confidence.
You're right, man. And so let's talk more about the bullying too. I guess most people they either get in two ways because they either are fat, they're either skinny, or they're either bullied for being fat or skinny. Or the other end, the ones who weren't necessarily bullied, but they want to do it because they want to get into something competitive after sports.
Right.
So,
right.
What about your bullying experiences?
Sure. Well, I dealt with a lot of bullying and discrimination on multiple fronts. My ethnic background is I'm half white. My father's white. My mother is Indian, so I'm half Indian, half white. And I don't look like either one. I walk by Indians every day. They don't look at me with acknowledgement like, oh, yeah, that's one of our people. No one knows that I'm half Indian. Not one person has ever guessed that I'm half Indian. Not one person has ever looked at me and be like, you know what, you look like you might be half East Indian. You have some of that Indian?
Honestly, when I first saw you like back in the day and before the interview, I had no idea you were Indian.
Yeah, no one
knows. Then the last name Mahler, I was like, okay, maybe there are some Indians with the last name Mahler. I'm not even sure. But
now my bad joke is I was like, yeah, of course I don't look Indian. How many Indian guys look as good as I do? No. Indian guys look like dorks. Let's be honest here. So of course
that's to be true. And not just that, not to be so stereotypical. You don't come across as the typical Indian either. So
No, no, definitely.
stereotype wise.
Environment either. If anything, I was more influenced by the white side of my family. But here's the thing: I didn't fit in with white people either. I
Yeah,
didn't fit in. So I was like, where do I belong? I don't belong anywhere. White people don't accept me as one of them. They still don't. And Indians don't accept me as one of them. They still don't. So where do I belong? And I always make a bad joke that I feel like I got adopted by black people because a lot of people think I'm black. I've been called the N word more times than most black people I know have.
that's
My wife
crazy.
is black, and she's been called the N word like maybe once in her life. Someone just wrote it on a note and left it in a feedback box at a job she was working at, just being an a-hole. But she's never had someone just yell the N word right in her face, or she's walking around and someone drives by and does it. So what I'm saying is I've experienced more racism being perceived as a black person than a lot of black people I know. But
Honestly, I thought you were like Italian or
so
some sort of Hispanic.
white people are treating me like I'm a black person, but I'm not a black person. So the whole thing was very confusing, to be honest with you. I don't know where I fit in. I don't know where I fit in at all. But it also gave me an interesting perspective because when I hear black people talk about racism, I know it's true. I know what they're saying is true. I believe it, and I've experienced it myself. Even though I'm not technically a black person, the person came at me with that vitriol. Okay. So I was. One time I got pulled over by a police officer and I had my long dreadlocks and all that. And the police officer told me to come. My dad was with me. We were visiting college.
I thought you were a roster or something.
No, he had me come back to the car and he was talking. He's like, who's that guy in the car with you? I go, that's my father. And he goes, your father is not an M-bomb. No, like justified. Like he's like, that can't be.
Okay, so that proves that police are definitely using
So when people talk about how some police officers are racist and they're a-holes, I believe it because I've experienced.
Yeah, I freaking believe.
I'm not saying
officers. I mean, not all police officers, but even me, when I had experience with police, I've experienced the bad end of police.
Yeah, me too.
People are like, oh, Toby, you're freaking goody two shoes. You had problem with police? No. When I get pulled over by police, sometimes it even almost gets close to deadly. So because I'm such an easy target,
well, I
look like a weapon.
You're a
big black guy with a beard. So to the extent that another taller black guy is like 300 pounds of muscle, he got scared of me when I was in the car. So if that even tells you something.
Right.
And he was asking all the questions like, "Oh, are you sure you're not under the influence? Are you sure you don't have a weapon?" Hey, man. No, I don't.
Yeah. No, but I dealt with a lot of discrimination from kids. A lot of young girls in particular were very cruel, and it was very hurtful at the time because you're not an adult.
You're not emotionally secure then.
Yeah, because I went to a school where it was all white people, and white girls thought I was hideous as a young person. White girls were like, "Oh God, I don't want to get stuck sitting next to Mike. He smells bad. He's disgusting." And they would say that. They're like, "You're disgusting. You're ugly." So that kind of stuff I dealt with.
Yeah, that will stick to you.
I really internalized.
Look at you now, man.
Yeah. So most of my youth, I felt that I was ugly and didn't belong anywhere. I felt that that's why I got into all this just self-destructive behavior with drugs and alcohol and all. Because you don't have any self-esteem, those are the qualities that people will take you to. So I didn't experience bullying, like people trying to beat my ass, right? I didn't have people like throw me into the into a locker, or come and follow me into the men's room and then 5 people are punching me in the face. That kind of stuff didn't happen. It was a different kind of bullying, though. It was more like people found you repulsive. Like you didn't belong anywhere. Like Indians are like, you're not one of us.
Yeah, that was pretty much the bullying
of us. And also, at the time I grew up, people were extremely racist. I'm not saying racism doesn't exist now, but it's way better than it was when I grew up. The white people I knew in high school and elementary school were extremely racist. They used that N-word like it was nothing all the time. And they thought black people were beneath them. There was like 2 black people in the whole high school, and they were looked down upon. Okay, that was just the time. It was a much different time. So you developed a certain level of fortitude when you deal with this kind of stuff. So one thing I'm proud of myself for, honestly, is that even though I dealt with all this kind of abuse as a young person, and I've dealt with way worse abuse than that. I was sexually abused as a 5-year-old by a nanny multiple times. I was forced to be in a sexual relationship with a grown woman when I was 5 years old. You can imagine the negative impact that has on somebody.
That's terrible.
Okay, so all of this stuff, eventually it just made me a much more compassionate person. I became a vegetarian because I love animals. I don't want to contribute to animal suffering. I would see animals suffering, and I would in some way know what that feels like because of all the suffering I went to. And I was like, I don't want to hurt animals. I'm not going to eat meat anymore. I want to get into a job where I'm helping people. So even though I went through all this abuse and discrimination, it brought out more compassion in me ultimately. I went through my phases of being self-destructive and self-hatred and all that stuff. I went through all that stuff. But I came out the other end being a much more compassionate person. I like to be very polite to people. I'm always very nice to people. People find me naturally intimidating, so that throws them off. So if you just see me without talking to me, you're like, oh man, that looks like some tough dude. But people that talk to me, I'm always very, very friendly. I'm always very polite, and I always want people to feel comfortable around me. Except for someone who's trying to do me harm. And I'm going to do. So. But I'm not someone who gets off on bullying other people. I'm not someone who gets off on manipulating other people. Those are not things that, those are not qualities that I find attractive at all, and certainly not ones I partake in.
Yeah, I mean, you said everything right there, man. It's just unfortunate, But I mean, look at you now, and at least you you didn't let all the ugliness of the world and the ugliness of other people just turn you the other way.
Right.
Because some people just experience so much bad treatment from people, or just go through some wickedness, and then they cycle.
Oh, go ahead. It's just my phone sends me alerts through the computer sometimes. It's fine.
Okay, good.
I'll turn that
Then
off.
they psychologically just become that evil because they have so much evil that happened to them that they want to just get retribution and take it out on others.
Yeah.
And I guess with all the evil in the world and the evil that happened to you, you just want to do the opposite, which is, I guess, why you did the veganism and why you're just doing all these other causes you're doing to give back.
Yeah, it is. I mean, people know my story. It becomes abundantly clear why I'm such an advocate of Project Child Save, an organization that rescues kids from human trafficking and sex slavery. Obviously, that's incredibly meaningful to me, given my experiences, but it's also something that it's such an important cause that it's impossible for me to not get behind something like that and want to proliferate it and get it out there. So, I mean, none of us are perfect. We all do stuff. We've all hurt people. We've all been hurt. I don't want to act like everything's been one-sided. Now, I've definitely been not an abuser. I've never put my hands on a woman, let's say, like that. But I've been someone that was a jerk to other people at different times in my life.
Yeah, we all have, including me. So
we're a hero in some people's stories, but there are people that have a very derogatory view of me based on what I did to them in the past, and that's their right to have that. And you can try to do what you can.
Everybody does that.
Yeah, it's hard to go through life without hurting people. You try to minimize it, but it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But the best thing you can do is grow from it and be like.
And sometimes you hurt others because you feel like people hurt you. So.
Yeah. Sometimes that's the way it is too.
But
exactly.
not all the time. Not all the times people hurt you, but sometimes you feel attacked and it's like defense mechanism. Maybe you don't take it the right way, or maybe you really don't. Maybe you're just too snappy. Maybe you had a bad day, or maybe you just truly don't walk away and think things through without reacting.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, none of us are perfect. So it's you want to forgive yourself, you want to forgive other people. And like the cliche saying, Forgiveness is not for the other person, it's for you, because otherwise you're drinking poison and hoping the other person gets sick. And my attitude is you have to move on with your lives. You don't want to harbor hatred in any way.
Yeah, man. And what keeps you going and not giving up, actually? What keeps you going?
Honestly, that's a struggle for me because I've dealt with lifelong depression. So there are often times where I don't want to keep going, if I'm being perfectly honest about stuff. There are times where I think life would be a lot easier to not have to deal with life. But sometimes life is, even though most people would look at my lifestyle and say, "Man, you got everything. Well, what are you depressed about?" But depressed is biochemical. It has nothing to do with circumstances. And that's one of the big misnomers about it. It's not about anything you've achieved. Sadness and depression are two different things. Sadness is predicated on an event. When my mom died, I was sad. When my dad died, I was sad. Depression is something that's there regardless of what's going on. So it's always difficult. It's always difficult. I think I'm at a fortunate place in life now where there's nothing I really have to do that I don't want to do at this point. Everything I do is what I want to do. What the work I do is work I want to do. I have a lot of free time because my passive income is really good. So pretty much every day I wake up, I own that day, meaning I can decide what I want to do that day. There's always a couple things I need to do that are business related, but they're not time consuming. So I'm in the fortunate position that I can do things every day that make life worth living, I guess is where I'm going. So that keeps me on the straight and narrow for the most part. But depression is something that's always going to be there. It's always going to be in the back of your mind. And it kind of reminds me of a quote Marcus Aurelius had. It kind of makes me laugh. But Marcus Aurelius, the emperor of Rome, 200 BC, said that whatever hardships you come across in life, you either have the capacity to handle it or you don't. So you're either going to persevere through it or you're going to succumb to it, and then you're going to die and it'll be over. So that's a very stoic way of saying it's not the nicest thing to say about life, but in some ways your life is not all that important in the big scheme of things, meaning that it's going to be over and you're going to be completely forgotten in no time. 1 generation or less, you'll be forgotten, no matter what you do. And even if you're not forgotten, you're not here to experience being remembered. So it really doesn't matter. So the point is, you don't have to take your life so seriously. Have the courage to do what you want to do and be around the people you want to be, because it's all going to end. And you might as well try to be as happy as you can while you're here. Do as much good as you can while you're here. But most importantly, enjoy your life. Do the things that are important to you. I mean, I can't imagine my life if I didn't get into the fitness industry and develop this career. I can't imagine just doing what I used to do. Like 20 years later, I'm still doing that. I'm still working these office jobs. I would have been miserable, really miserable. In some ways, my depression is a good thing because it allows me to make better decisions. I'm not a regular person. I can't do what regular people do. I don't function as a regular person. 9 to 5, that's not for me. It doesn't fit my personality at all. So there's no point in me trying to force that when I know it's not going to make me happy. When I was in college, I majored in religious studies, of all things. My dad told me that's a worthless degree. You're not going to be able to get a job with it. You're not going to be able to get a job with any degree from college. Nobody cares. You could have a degree in business administration. You have no work experience. Nobody cares. So you might as well pick something that you actually enjoy. And I went from being an average student to a straight A student when I was a religious studies major, because it was stuff that I actually cared about. So I learned a very valuable lesson. I'm only going to be good at something that I actually care about. Otherwise, I'm not going to be good at it. And more importantly, not only am I not going to be good at it, I'm going to be depressed. Now, some people just say, well, you're just mentally weak, Mike. That's why you deal with depression. Fine, I'm mentally weak. So what? This is who I am. So I know how to treat myself better than any therapist does. Not that I think therapy is a waste of time. I've gone to therapy and I think therapy is great. But who knows you better than you? No one does. No one knows you better than you do. No one is in your head the way you are. It's impossible for someone else to know you better than you know yourself. So you got to be honest with yourself when you know these things. if you're going to be miserable as a 9 to 5er, working in some corporate job and having to hang out with people that you have nothing in common with, then you can't do that. Go find something else. Go find something else that's more gratifying.
I mean, I really agree with everything you're saying here. Like even me, I'm most happy. Like me, I went to vacation. I went to the DR for
Right?
6 days. And I went to a resort. I was happiest when, I was happiest when I was at the gym in the resort. That's
That's
when
great.
I was happiest, when I was just lifting those weights, doing the exercises I like. And I was even happiest when I just wear the clothes I like to wear and see my muscles look good, see the physique look good. Because even when I'm away from life, I'm thinking about the gym all the time.
Right.
So that's truly what makes me the most happy.
Yeah.
Like even like when I go to the nightclub, when I go to the dinner, everything about me is like thinking about the gym.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I
Well,
guess that's also saying something.
well, yeah. And some people will listen to that and say, well, Toby, you need to be more balanced. No, you don't. That's what you're interested in. So why distract yourself from what you're interested in? Now, when you have that level of passion for training, obviously it makes sense that you want to be in this world as a trainer or in some capacity. That
Yeah.
obviously makes the most sense because this is what you're thinking about all the time in your free time is what you should be doing in your real life. Unless you're a serial killer or something, you got to resist that.
No.
But if it makes you happy to go rape women and kill people, obviously I'm not saying go do that. Go get
Yeah,
some.
you should do, just don't see the light of day. That's
Yeah, yeah,
it.
yeah, exactly. So you better just go roll yourself off a cliff, do us all a favor. But
For real.
when you're that obsessed with something, that's a good thing. It shows you that that's the path you want to be in. So somewhere in there, there's an opportunity for you. Maybe you start off as a trainer at a gym, and you build from there. But you like being in that environment. You like lifting weights. You like helping people with their goals, and that's
Yeah.
what you want in a trainer. You want someone that walks the walk, and you want someone that actually cares about helping other people achieve their goals. You have those two things, you're
Hmm.
a great trainer.
And it also makes me pretty social too. So I'm
Yeah,
somebody that kind of like keeps to myself, doesn't talk a crazy amount.
yeah,
But even when I'm not talking about, I don't even just talk about the gym with a lot of people either. But I could just open up more because I'm like in a comfortable environment. So to open up.
yeah, yeah. That's where you feel most confident. So that's good. Because I mean, you're not going to be happy doing some job that's outside of that. That's just the reality. It's going to be something where you're at some job and you're like, man, I can't wait to get out of here so I can go to the gym later, get my workout.
Yeah, that's really what happens to me.
Yeah, yeah. So in this, there is an opportunity for you in this world. You just have to determine what that is.
I just have to. That's really the dream. That's really the end goal.
So, I mean, if you're going to have a job, it should be a job within this industry. So at least you're furthering yourself. So if
Hmm.
you may not want to be a trainer in the gym for 20 years, but if you're a trainer in the gym, you're getting paid to be in a gym and you're getting paid to train other people and you're getting experience on someone else's dime.
Yeah.
I know people that were trainers in the gym for 3 or 4 years and then they ventured off on their own. They opened up their own facilities, they started doing things independently, and they're very successful doing that.
Yeah. Ideally, if it were truly up to me and it was a salary job, I don't care how many hours I work. I just want to have a plethora of clients. I just even if it's not training in the gym, online coaching, which I do online coaching, but it's not successful, especially not as successful as it was since before COVID shutdown, where I lost like most of my clients.
Yeah.
But I lost because some of them I even released because I was thinking about them. I was like, look, I don't know about the uncertainty. I think it's best for you to discontinue so you can have the money to actually survive on what's about to happen. So I was like thinking, just not being selfish when it came to that.
Right.
And it's been hard to get client, and my clientele has been up and down since. Otherwise, I would just keep training people, work on my YouTube, and maybe get it monetized or whatever. And then also, whether I train people in person or online, and also work on my website a bit,
Yeah.
which I have articles and stuff.
What about
And
getting
just
what about getting a job as a trainer in a gym as a way to supplement what you really want to do? Because that's still doing what you want to do. It's not doing it exactly the way you want to do it right now, but it's still useful for what you do want to do because you're getting a lot of experience training other people and you're building your resume too.
I think I could definitely consider that in the future because I just have a lot to think about with what I'm actually gonna do. I'm definitely closer and closer thinking, you know what? Let me get this personal training certification. Just
Yeah.
train people. Hopefully I have enough hours. Hope I have enough clients. And then if it's not a full day, I could also spend the rest of the day doing other jobs
Yeah.
while I just get the hours in. If I don't have the full schedule of 4 hour training clients, maybe I could do other jobs like maybe tutoring because that's another thing I do too. I math tutor. So
Yeah.
I could do that and then I could also just see what else I can do out there. Just
Yeah.
multiple stuff.
Yeah. Definitely. I think the trainer thing is good in the sense that, like, look, I'll be honest, I wouldn't want to be a trainer in a gym personally. That never appealed to me. But I
Yeah.
think that's a good starting point. That's doing a job where you're actually getting paid to do what you actually want to do. You're not doing it in the context you want to do it, but it's still furthering where you want to go. In other words, it's relevant experience to what you do want to do. The
Hmm.
map tutoring stuff is great, but that's not relevant to your fitness goals. That's separate.
No, that's just separate.
Yeah, and
And
it's not
that's like until it's like a full schedule where I could exclusively train
right,
people.
right, right. So the personal trainer one makes it is well, you have to look at it this way. It's not something you have to do forever. And if it doesn't appeal to you being a trainer,
Me,
yeah,
as far as personal training goes, I don't care if I see myself doing it for probably the rest of my life because I want to do this the rest of my life.
yeah,
Like this is a job I don't see myself retiring from.
right.
So I really don't care to retire.
Yeah, yeah, I don't care to retire either. I'm always going to work whether I have to or not because I like working. It's
And
important to
and
work.
I'm somebody that want probably even in my 60s, 70s, 80s would still train people. And people will be like, "Oh, you're still that guy in the gym?" Hey, man, this is what I live for. I'll be that old guy in the gym. I'll be that old guy lifting weight. I'll be that old guy with muscle and strength. That's
Well,
the
you
goal. That's
have
the
to
end goal.
have, yeah, you have to have consummate confidence in yourself to do what you want to do. And what I mean by that is, look, when I first started off as a kettlebell instructor, my dad thought I would quit that in a month and go back to what I was doing. Because I didn't come from an entrepreneurial family. Both of my parents are PhDs. My dad was a bureaucrat his entire life. My mom was a housewife. Neither one of them are entrepreneurial at all. My dad tried to do some entrepreneurial stuff. It was a total disaster because you can't take a 9 to 5 mindset to an entrepreneurial activity. But my grandfather was a very successful entrepreneur. He did a lot of consultancy and all that. And one thing I noticed is my grandfather was very happy working. He loved work. He didn't look at work as something to escape. He couldn't wait to work. He loved it.
Yeah.
Well, my dad, he didn't hate his job, but he definitely didn't love it. He couldn't wait for a vacation so he could go fly fishing and do the stuff he actually wants to do. So I looked at my grandfather as more of an aspirational model than my father. Now, I didn't want to do what he did. That's his path. But I wanted to be an entrepreneur, and I wanted to be an entrepreneur within, I guess because of the abuse I've been through as a child and the bullying and all that, it became very important for me to become powerful. I want to be powerful physically so people don't mess with me.
Yeah. Same.
I want to know how to fight. So if someone puts his hands on me, I'm gonna fuck that guy up real bad.
Yep.
I want to be lethal. Someone sees me walking my dogs, they're like, that's not the guy we're gonna mess with. That guy looks like he'll rip
Exactly.
my hand
That's
off.
the same reason
And we
why I
got
do
the
all
strength
that.
that you and I
Gotta
have.
protect myself.
Yeah, you and I have the kind of strength where we could tear someone's limb off if we really wanted to. Okay, we have a different level of strength than the average person experiences. And when I
Yeah, and I'm that same person. Someone stronger than me wants to fight me. and they literally can do something. They literally can destroy me because there's nothing I can do about it. I'm like, you know what? I still want to kill this guy.
Yeah,
Not that I'm gonna kill them, but
I
like,
know.
okay, this
For
person's
me, like,
stronger than me.
I
I want
wanted
to be eventually be so much stronger than him that they're like, hey man, remember you want to beat my ass?
yeah,
It's come say that shit to me again, you
yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah. So you want to exude a certain level of confidence that you're not a target. I think that's important as a man, but it's especially important for someone that's been through abuse because I know exactly what it's like to be powerless, completely powerless. I know
Yeah,
exactly what that's like, and I don't want to experience that ever again. You know?
yeah,
So if I'm strong physically, that's one component of strength. But I also have to be strong financially because if you're not strong financially, then you have to answer to other people. Other people
yeah,
just other people are in charge of my future. No way. I'm not going to rely on someone else to give me a paycheck. That doesn't work for me. I make my own money and I do it on my own terms. So not only is it important for me to do what I want to do in life, I do think it's important to make a good income because if you don't have a good income, you don't have options.
yeah.
You talked about COVID. I wasn't remotely worried during COVID, even though my business went to zero. Because during COVID, I go, look, I've accumulated my wife owned a beauty salon at the time, and she had to shut down like everybody else did. So she couldn't work for 3 months, whatever it was that we were shut down. So she had
Yeah,
no money coming in. And I said, worst case scenario, my business has no money coming in either, but I've got so much in savings, we can ride through this. But my business didn't get hit at all. Why? Because I sell nutrition supplements that actually work. What are people like us doing during COVID? We're working out. There's nothing else to do. So if anything, my business actually went up during the whole COVID period. But the point is that even if it didn't, though, I wasn't worried in any way. That's another level of confidence that comes. So financial strength is very important, is where I'm going. I saw a lot of families suffering during that period where they're relying on welfare and they're barely making it each month. I saw a lot of that. They were in very weak positions. I'm not saying anything bad about them as people. I'm not saying anything derogatory
yeah.
about
I
them
know
as,
what you mean. You're
but
just saying what actually happened.
they were at the mercy of circumstances. And I don't want to ever be at the mercy of circumstances. Things are going to happen in life, fine. But I want to be so fortified that I can handle those things. Not be someone that is going to, man, if other people don't come help me, I'm screwed type attitude. So so I think so being powerful on multiple fronts, I think is very important, especially for someone like me, for my mental health. It's crucial.
Yeah, man. I mean, oh, my mind went blank.
My mind went blank too. I don't even know how we started on this road, but anyway.
But yeah, I mean, being just income is important, just enough income to live the life you want to live. But
Yeah.
that was the main issue with this whole personal training, the whole online coaching, the whole fitness stuff. It's really hard to make income in this industry because it's really hard to just ask people be to be your client, to retain clients. It's just getting enough clientele. Most people aren't gonna say, "Hey, I want to be your client," and then pay for the bundle. Kind of hard to
Well,
get
the
people to.
problem you're dealing with, unfortunately, is there is so much free information out there.
Yeah,
It's hard to get people to pay for anything, honestly. Like my
that's
workshops,
a,
these kettlebell workshops, those peaked around, let's say, 2012, 2013. That was the peak of my kettlebell career. After that, it was just a dissipation that was gradual. It became much harder to do these courses. It became much harder to get the numbers, to get the price points. It became way more difficult because it was more ubiquitous. It wasn't as specialized a tool. When I started up as a kettlebell instructor, nobody was doing it. Even Pavel wasn't teaching seminars. He only worked with the military. So nobody was doing what I did. I was the first guy to teach kettlebell workshops, travel the world, and do it. Nobody was doing it before me. And then it took several months before other people even got in and tried to do what I did. So I had a head start on everybody, frankly, and it allowed me to fine tune my kettlebell skills and stick out from everybody else too. So the thing about life is there's timing and opportunities are also crucial. There's a timing for everything. You have to know when to get in, you have to know when to get out.
Yeah.
What you're saying, doing online consulting, it's not impossible, and you can do it and be very successful doing it. It's just going to take some time to figure out that path. It's going to take some time to figure out what works for you doing that. But it's important that I think pressure is very important to bring out the best in people. So the more pressure the more you have to make it work, the more likely you are to make it work. If in the back of your mind it's an option, well, if this doesn't work out, no big thing. If that's even in the back of your mind, that's going to have a negative impact. It has to be, no, this is it. It's either this or nothing. That's the kind of pressure you have to have on yourself, especially something like this where people around you are going to tell you that this is not going to work. How much longer are you going to waste your time doing this? Nobody thought anyone could make 6 figures as a kettlebell instructor back then. They thought that the idea was even absurd. But before I made 6 figures, I knew I could. So I knew I could. And also, like you said, once I made a livable income, I didn't care if I made 6 figures. The most important thing was, can I actually make a living doing something I enjoy doing? Is that possible? And the answer, pretty early on, I realized is yes. I'd rather make $65,000 a year doing what I did as a kettlebell instructor than working for anyone else doing anything. So if someone came along to me and said, hey, Mike, you're a really smart guy. We'll pay you $1 million to be our CEO. I'm like, no, because now I got to answer to you guys. Of course, that kind of opportunity is highly unlikely to ever happen. But I'm just saying it's not something that is even remotely appealing to me where I'm going to lie to myself and just pick the money doing something I hate doing.
Yeah, man. I'm the same way. If there's something I hate or something I'm not able to do, I'm just not going to do it because number one, I'm not going to retain the job. They'll just throw me out. And number two, it'll just be another cycle of failure and wasted time.
Yeah.
And time is running out.
Well, I'll tell you one thing too, because you're way younger than I am. You want to do all the grunt work and the hard work when you're young. Like the things I did to become successful as a kettlebell instructor, I would not want to do now. I'm not saying I couldn't do it now, but I definitely wouldn't want to. So you have to remember, when I first started teaching kettlebell courses, there were no gyms. There weren't even any CrossFit gyms. So when I taught a seminar in New York City, not only did I rent out the space and take charge of registrations, all the people that showed up are people that I got from my marketing. It wasn't someone else filling the room for me. And none of these facilities had kettlebells on site. So I actually had to supply kettlebells too. And we're talking like 30 people are coming out to a course. How am I going to get 30 kettlebells? So I would have 5 or 6 that I left at my parents' house, and I would fly into Virginia. I would drive to New York City with 7 or 8 kettlebells. And then I would cut deals with students to bring their own kettlebells to make sure we had enough on site. But it was always an issue of, how do we get enough kettlebells on site? How are we going to do it? And that's what stopped a lot of other people from even trying to do what I did. So what I'm saying is, it was essential to me that I made it in this business. It wasn't something where I'm going, oh yeah, it would be nice if I made it. It was essential that I made it in this business. There wasn't a plan B. There wasn't anything else I want to do. There's nothing else I wanted to do but be a fitness professional. I don't want to be an actor in Hollywood. I don't want to be a lead singer of a rock band. Those things are all cool, but it's never something I wanted to do. This is the only thing I ever wanted to do, was be in this space. So it was absolutely essential that I achieved that. So it has to be that level of determination, because otherwise those voices around you are going to tell you time to move on. People who may have your best interests at heart, but they don't know what you're feeling inside.
Yeah, I agree, man. And when it comes to the kettlebell stuff, what were some of the highlights teaching and promoting kettlebells around the world? What were some of your highlights?
Well, first of all, I got to see a lot of the world from all these overseas courses, so that was awesome. I went to Australia, I went to South Africa, I went to Dubai, I went all over Europe, went to Panama, so a lot of places. And I had traveled quite a bit as a child because my parents were very international, but it's a much different experience when you're a grown man traveling than you are as a child with your parents. Okay, it's a totally different experience. Going to Australia as a grown man and having a good time, that's a lot different than going there for 2 days with your parents and doing whatever they want to do. So it was very gratifying to meet people all over the world and see the positive impact that my work has had on them. it was very gratifying to teach a course. And at the end of the course, people were clapping, they're happy. They're like, man, that was a day well spent. That was an awesome course. You get an email there like, man, what a great course that was. I'm still on a high from that course I took from you. That was the best part of teaching courses. And also it was fun to just put on a performance, because at the peak of my kettlebell training, I would go in there and be like, okay, I'm going to lift the heaviest kettlebells for the entire course and make it look easy. And that was very inspirational to other people, but it was fun for me to do that too. Getting that kind of attention was fun. I'm not going to lie. But the most gratifying thing was knowing that you made a positive impact on other people. That was the best part about doing it.
I agree, man. Especially having an impact on people, especially if you just like helping people.
Yeah.
And you're somebody that like gets a high out of helping others, affecting people's lives for the better. And then hearing from other people, look, I was in a low point at some point in life, or people just come to you for advice. People look up to you. People just, you're just like the light in their darkness and stuff like that. It's a great feeling. Even sometimes even more than the money. You're like, okay, even if things are not going well for me, or I feel like I'm not winning in life right now, or stuff is just I'm kind of losing, or I was winning at one point and now I lost. You just go back and think about the people who either are winning or not winning, but still like are positively impacted by you. You know,
Yeah.
it's kind of humbling.
Yeah.
And it makes you feel good.
Well, the thing about depression also is that I don't think it's as unusual as people like to lead on. I think that a lot of people are depressed, but they just distract themselves. They don't embrace it. They don't try to do anything about it. So they spend a lot of time on social media. They spend a lot of time watching Netflix. They spend a lot of time going to the bar, drinking, constantly distracting yourself so you don't have to think about it. So I think mental health is it's a much bigger issue than people like to lead on. I can, when you see a lot of the unhealthy behavior on Instagram, that's coming from a place of depression. That's coming from a place of people being unhappy with their lives. So people like to put on this brave front of, oh, look how happy I am and look how great my life is. No, you're saying that because you're hoping other people will agree with you so that you believe it. You don't even believe it. You don't believe that at all, because if you did, you wouldn't have to post this bullshit on social media for everybody else to see. If you're really happy leading your life, it doesn't matter if anyone else knows that. So when people get on there and they try to be motivational to other people, that's the most insufferable thing I ever see, is when people try to act as if they have it together so well. Like, look how perfect I am. You could be like me if you do this. It's like, you're not perfect, bitch. You're not fucking perfect. You're putting on this fake bullshit persona and trying to be this aspirational figure to other people. And then the other extreme is people just talking about how their mental health issues and they're depressed all the time. It's like, okay, fine, we get it, but we don't need to hear about that every day. It's great that you're sharing that so that other people can maybe acknowledge it and be like, hey, I feel the same way, and maybe you get some support in some way. But in Sufism, which is the religion that resonated with me the most, and Sufism is Islamic mysticism, and Sufism can be explained very concisely as a battle between your higher soul and your lower soul. You have a higher soul that vibrates much higher. This is the part of your soul that's connected to God. So this is the part of your soul that wants to improve as a person, wants to help other people, wants to be compassionate. You're not ego driven. Now the lower soul is extremely ego driven. The lower soul just wants instant gratification. Attention on Instagram, for example, is a lower soul activity. It's not a higher soul activity. Pretty much anything most people do on Instagram is lower soul activity. Now you need a little bit of both. You need the lower soul, you need the higher soul. You want the higher soul to be basically the analogy they use in Sufism is you're a carriage rider. You've got 4 horses that you control. The horses are your lower soul. In other words, you don't want to just let them run wild and you follow them wherever they go. You're the carriage driver, you're the higher soul. So you have to guide those horses in the direction you want to go. So that's basically the human condition in a nutshell, is that we have a higher soul and we have a lower soul. Some people succumb to their lower soul. They just never resolve the conflict they have internally Other people to have a lower soul domination, and then they move in the direction of higher soul at some point in their life. Usually, a lot of people become more spiritual as they get older because you're getting closer to the end of your life. So this is common. You see people in their 70s and 80s, and all of a sudden they become very religious.
Yeah.
Trying to hang on to all that. But my attitude is that spiritual growth is something that should happen at a young age, not something that you're 70 or 80. And what I like about Sufism is that Sufism is all about, can you tame your lower soul, and can you do it while living in the material world? Because it's one thing to go to an ashram or a temple and just shave your head and be a Buddhist monk and separate yourself from society. And I'm not denigrating that in any way either. Like I said, whatever
I know what you mean.
make is fine. But the real challenge is, can you be a spiritual person in a material world where everything is about ego-driven?
Ego and self and everything.
I'm going to lift something heavy at the gym, and I'm going to film it, and I'm going to post it, and everyone's going to tell me how strong I am.
How strong I am, how great I am, and shit.
Yeah. I'm going to take a picture of me with my shirt off and show people my 8-pack, and people are going to be like, "Oh my God, you look so good."
Yeah.
Like a woman's here's me in a bikini, like, "Oh my God, you're so hot. Your body's so beautiful."
Hot.
Like, "Oh, I want to have."
They'll be like, "Hey, stop looking at me, you pervert. Leave me alone."
Yeah, but these are all lower soul activities. They mean nothing. And also, it's an illusion, because even if you're really beautiful, you're not going to be beautiful forever if you live long enough. You're just not. So you're really good looking at 30. You're not going to look like that at 50. And you're not going to look like that at 60. You're definitely not going to look that at
70.
Now, there's women who look good for 70, okay?
They do.
But nobody thinks they look better than a woman who looks good in her 30s, okay?
Exactly. That's just the reality. 30s, early 20s.
Yeah.
Even though you could look good in your 70s and 60s for your age.
Yeah, exactly. For your age.
Just like a guy. A guy could have all the money in the world, established in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, 70s, rich, like those rich, very old men that get with these young, hot girls that only want them for their money. But if the woman had to choose, they'll choose the younger, better looking guy with a good body and a good face rather than the old, saggy man. They just whip the old man for the money.
Well, that's why if you want to be desirable to women, make a great income doing what you love to do. Do something you love to do, because you're going to be passionate when you talk, and that's exciting because most people don't do that. You make a great income and you look good physically.
Yeah.
I mean, how many people fall into that category? Not many. So you become extremely desirable.
Not many. It's kind of like they call those like select men, like a select few.
Yeah. Most people don't have any of those qualities. Most people don't make a good incomes. They don't look good. They're not strong. And a lot of people aren't even good people. So they don't even have good personal qualities. So
have everything pretty much.
Those are the people that are angry when women don't find them attractive. I was like, well, why would anyone find them attractive? Like, let's be honest.
When I get rejected by women, sometimes I don't bat an eye whatsoever. I'm not gonna say, "Well, woman, you're freaking ugly. Well, woman, F you. Woman, you should be all with me. What the hell's wrong with you?" No, I'll just play cool. I'll be like, "All right, that's cool. Have a nice day." Or I'll just joke around with it, because I know there's like at least 10, 50 other women that will find me attractive and want me. You have to have that mindset. So if you establish yourself with such confidence and know you have stuff going for you and know that you're really building yourself up, you're not gonna be like, okay, you're not gonna just walk like with a stick up your ass all the time,
Right. One thing I think that's good about the world we're in is that no matter how strong you are, there's always people that are way stronger than you are.
Of course.
And that keeps everything in perspective. So when people telling me like, "Oh man, you're so strong," I'm like, "Hey, thank you, I appreciate that." But it doesn't go to my head, because I know so many people that are stronger than I am. I know you're way stronger than I am. My friend Mark.
Yeah, and I know people stronger than me, so I'm in gyms with people stronger than me. So I don't think anything of it, because, like I said, there's no one guy who was ever stronger than me and whatever that I'm like, man, I wish I was that guy. I'm so jealous of that guy. I feel so inadequate because I'm not him, or I'm not as strong as him. No, I know people are stronger than me. even when I got to a point back then where I was like, I'm as strong as I wanted to be, I never wanted to be another man. I never wanted to be another person. I just wanted to maximize what I had. And when
That
I looked at people stronger than me and stuff, or people who were better at what I had, I just used that as okay, I could just have friendly, healthy, positive competition or positive goals, not to demean myself or not to abuse other people or look down on people, you know?
yeah, yeah. No, that's best. That's the healthiest mindset because I'm similar to you in the sense that I've been inspired by other people, but I didn't want to be them. I was
No.
to be myself. I want to be the best version of myself. And that's more than enough because honestly, the levels of fitness and strength that I achieved, that's way more than I ever expected to when I started this journey.
Same
I
here. I thought I was going to be a
exceeded my
weaker
expectations
or
big time. Yeah, I exceeded my expectations big time. And every time I'm able to pick up something that I couldn't do before, it's still very exciting to me. It's like we were talking about with the Nordic curls. The Nordic curls, I've had this Nordic curl device in my garage for over a decade, and I couldn't do one rep if my life depended on it. I should either get rid of this thing or actually be able to do Nordic curls. And then I became obsessed with doing Nordic curls, and it's such a cool move to be able to do. It's one of those things where
yeah.
when
I
you
would like to do one day. I would like to do that, and I would also like to do a one-arm pull-up one day.
yeah.
And a bonus if I ever get to do a planche push-up. The levitating. You know what planche is?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, it's fun to have. I never not have goals when it comes to fitness. Like I don't believe in just maintaining. It's like, what are you doing right now? Oh, I'm just maintaining. That's not exciting to me. That's boring. I always want to try to get better at something. Now I don't have to get better at the same thing. Like the deadlifts, I took as far as I want to go. I don't really care to go further with that. So it's not that
Neither do I.
it's not that I'll never do deadlifts again. It's just that I'm not excited about doing deadlifts. Let's put it that way. Not right now. Maybe later I will. Maybe next year I get the bug again. Who knows? But Nordic curls I could never do, so I like being able to do those. There's a bunch of machines at the gym I go to that I don't have much experience with, so it's actually fun to get good at it. I go, let me see how strong I can get on hip belt squats. Let me see how strong I can get on
There you go.
V squats. Let me see how strong I can get on this leg press or these other devices. So I'm a very goal oriented person. If I
I'm the
don't,
same way.
I get bored if I'm not trying to get better. I guess is where I'm going, and it's
Yeah.
not for me to be bored ever. The good decisions don't come out of boredom. As we can see on Instagram, a lot of bored people are on there making bad decisions, and that's what happens when you engage in boredom. So you should never be bored in life. There should always be enough that's interesting you that there's something to get into. You have enough interest that there's always
Yeah.
something to get into.
Like even me, like I just had a workout today since like I guess May or actually since July, really, early July. I've been taking more than a month off to rest my joints. I've
Yeah.
been having I've been having like knee problem, spine problem, chest problem, had a problem with my elbow. So I got to a point where I was like really resting for the most part. And when I wasn't resting, it was social workouts with people who invite me to work out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's never been leg days. And I got to a point today where I was actually working out and but the only thing that's not weak for me right now, even though everything got significantly weaker, and
Uh-huh.
also because I'm so crippled right now, the only thing that hasn't gotten significantly weaker was my bench press. And I was able to do some bench press in my vacation and be fine. And also my pull ups and chin ups haven't gotten significantly weaker either. Otherwise, my squat, which I used to be a strong squatter, but now my squat is way less than half. It's like less than half than what I used to squat. Today, I worked up to 275 for 5 reps, and I felt like I was going to die. I felt like I was going to break. 275 for 5 reps squat,
Yeah.
high bar ass to grass. And keep in mind, I'm somebody that used to do high bar ass to grass 550 pounds, aka double of 275. I used to do 550 pounds for a set of four. In that set of four, I could have easily done like 6 reps. But today I did 275 for 5 reps. And like I probably could have gone like 6 or 7, but the goal was really 315. but I knew I didn't have 315 in me today. And I knew 315, I would only get like 3 reps. So my squat is all the way at the lowest. And I look at my legs now. My legs have a lot of muscle. It got more separated from my quads to my hamstrings and all. I have a lot of muscle on my legs,
Yeah.
but my knees are just completely destroyed. And even deadlifts, I got to a point where, I did like 6 plates, 7 plates, and over 700, almost 8 plates. And now 315 feels like I'm gonna break my back every time I do it. And 405 feels like like worse than 700 would normally feel.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I just gotten to those points where I'm just completely breakable. And instead of the old Toby would be like, man, I got so much weaker on these exercises. I'm gonna have so little self-esteem. I'm just not gonna be confident. I'm a failure. This and that. Oh my God, woe is me and shit. But now I'm at the point where okay, I got so weak at the squat. I haven't been this weak in squats since high school. And out of all the lifts, squats is the number one lift that would really damage me if I got weak. Next to maybe bench press. Deadlift, I've established I hit all my goals, and I know I could get strong on deadlift if it weren't for my spine. So I don't care about deadlift.
Yeah.
But I'm like, okay, I got so weak at this. It doesn't even I'm actually I actually feel like a big burden is off me for some reason. That's kind of like the opposite feeling. Like, okay, I feel like now I'm like way down here. I haven't been down here in like over 10 years. And I have a lot to build back up. And just the pursuit of building back up gives me something to look forward to. Gives me like some more excitement, making it even more fresh. Even though it always was fresh. When I was actually strong, the goal was just to get stronger. Now that I'm actually crippled and kind of weak, the goal is to get non-crippled and the goal is to get strong again. And that makes it exciting. And also other goals too, like I hired a nutritionist and stuff
Okay.
where I'm gonna work on my nutrition, maybe get leaner, work on my body composition, and develop better eating habits, especially when it comes to cooking food. Actually cook better food, make better eating decisions, so I could actually look the part even more. Lose my belly fat, get my face chiseled again, and stuff like that. So
That's old. Those are
get
old.
back to get back to the old pretty boy days. And then I'll always be strong. It doesn't even cross my mind. As far as
Yeah.
strength goes, I mean, everyone knows I'm strong. And I already proved to myself I know how to get strong. And I could get stronger than I ever was if I truly wanted to. I have nothing more to prove in that. And obviously it's a lifestyle for me. Strength is the number one thing I enjoy. And it's the number one thing I'm after. And I have my whole life to get strong.
Yeah.
Instead of, I'll just have to think about the end goal and work on what I have to do right now, or what I have to do this moment to reset, and just like, just I'm not like sulking in my oh my god, my squat is not 4 or 5 anymore. I'm so weak. This is this. Oh, I can't deadlift. No, I'm just happy to not have career threatening injury. I'm just happy I'm still in this. I could get back.
Yeah.
I developed that healthier mindset.
No, that is a much healthier mindset. And this is something you want to do for as long as possible. So the last thing you want to do is have some kind of debilitating injury. Now you can't even train again.
Yeah,
So,
that's when it'll get bad.
with knee issues, you just have pain in your knees at all times, or what's going on there?
Like, I mean, I'm somebody that when I like squat down or sit down or like kneel down, my knees feel like they're breaking, like an old man knees like an old man. And when I squat, I feel it.
Yeah.
And that's why I even hired a coach too. Coach that does calisthenics. He's helping one of the calisthenics originals. He goes by the name Little Beastan. He also works on the movements and stuff. He'll work on getting my mobility back and work on my injuries, because he also realized that, because he was somebody I kind of looked at my early years too. And he said, yeah, one thing, I am strong, even stronger than him, but I just have to really work on my movement, work on my mobility, work on my flexibility and stuff. Because it'll be a STEM. Also learned from another guy, which I think you know of. His name is Ito Portal.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah,
You know who that is, right?
sure do. Yeah.
So kind of learning a little bit from him and just working on my mobility and stuff. What do you think of him, by the way?
I
Portal.
don't know. I don't know him personally, and I
I mean, his work and his movement and stuff.
superficially familiar with his work. I like it. A lot of body weight stuff, movement patterns. I think that's all good. I think it's all good stuff. Especially if someone finds it interesting and exciting, I think it's great. Because that's the other thing about physical training too, is that not everyone's going to like what you do. Not everyone's going to like what I do. And if you don't like it, there's no point doing it, because you're not going to last long enough to get good at it. So you got to
Yeah.
find something that you enjoy doing. Now, the problem is some people don't like doing anything, and that's a problem too. So now they have to just force themselves to work out in some way, but those kind of people never achieve anything impressive. Like, look,
Yeah.
how many people do you know that are strong and fit who don't love doing it? None. No one's gonna. No one just works up to a
Yeah.
600-pound deadlift by accident and go, I hate this, but I'm going to make myself do it. No. When I was
No.
obsessed with deadlifting 600, I couldn't wait to get to the gym. Every time I drove to the gym, I go, this is one more step towards where I want to go. I couldn't wait to work out each time. I was excited about it because I had a goal that I was going after.
Hmm.
And whatever it is that gets someone excited, whether it's Ito's work, your work, my work, whatever it is, that's good. Because you have to get obsessed with it to get good at it. That's the thing about life. If you're not obsessed with something, you're not going to get good at it. You're just
That's the
not.
truth.
It has to be.
Everything I was ever good at, I was obsessed with.
Yeah.
Even, even I like, even I looked at one of my videos I did years back, my 12-year natural transformation video. One person commented, he's like, there are people he knows that accomplish as much or more than Tobi has. And he also continued to say that Tobi himself will even attest to this, that he's not a genetic freak. He has above average genetics. But what separated Tobi from others that made him achieve his goals is he was very, very obsessed with it. And
Yeah.
he just had the mind and drive more than people who are actually good genetics. People with better genetics, he just had the drive and passion and extremely driven to the point that he was able to surpass everything he ever thought he would do.
Nah, man. I mean, look,
Because that's really the number one factor for me. I was just so obsessed and driven, which I still am.
every
It's just
successful
that,
person is the same way, regardless of the context. Every successful person is the same way. Every successful entrepreneur is obsessed about whatever it is they're trying to do. This whole notion of you got to have balance and all that, maybe at some point you do in life, but not when you're trying to build something. When you're trying to build something, you're going to be in an imbalanced state, and you have to be comfortable being in that imbalanced state for as long as it takes. None of this balance bullshit. I didn't even think about vacations the first 4 or 5 years of my career. I wasn't even thinking about it. I was just working 7 days a week, building this business. That's it. All I did was train, work out, think about how to build my business.
man.
Not to say that I
I
never
wish
had.
I had a system, man. I wish I had that same system. If I actually had that same system, or maybe hire somebody or something that can make it work for me, where I could just truly just, I don't mind putting in the hours of work. I don't mind not going anywhere. I don't mind having a boring life. I don't mind doing any of that. I'd rather be grinding, grinding, grinding with my gifts until it works.
Yeah.
No, even if it's few years, I'd rather be grinding. And while I'm grinding, I at least want to have enough money where I'm actually making an affordable living.
Yeah. 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 It's important to know what's important to you. And it's like I said, it's important to be honest with yourself on what's going to make you happy. Because you're just going to, lying to yourself never works in your favor. It's always
No.
gonna be to your own detriment, and unfortunately, there'll be collateral damage to people around you as well. That's just the way that goes. A lot of unhappy people out there do things that are harmful to other people because they're unhappy with themselves.
Yeah.
If they had the courage to go pursue what they actually wanted to do and see it through, they wouldn't have that latent animosity just waiting to come out.
I need just, even if I hire somebody or some sort of ratio method, something, I just want somebody to just help with my bid with my personal training, just online coaching, something. Because I just want to make this a full time. I don't mind overdoing the hours. I don't mind, because I just want to keep. I want in my mind. I just want to be like one of the most successful at what I do. Not because of money, but actually be that good. Actually have, like, the ideal is to have like maybe thousands down the years, thousands of clients who were gaining muscle, getting stronger at the lifts, getting better quality of life, getting nutrition, any of my services, whether it's pull-ups, push-ups, squats, bench, deadlift, overhead press, gain more muscle, nutrition, anything. Just have thousands of happy, satisfied clients and
Yeah.
some long time ones. That's really the end goal. Now, I'm willing to put in, I don't care if I'm really on, that's why I would do a lot of my business too. On my phone, I'm talking to my clients and my phone is like my computer. And even if I'm on my phone all the time, just giving clients information, that's really what I like to do.
Yeah.
Even if it's like 12-hour days, 18-hour days, I'll take it.
Well,
15-hour days,
you have to find
7 days a week.
promotional method, and things are different now than when I could tell you what I did, but it's different now than a different landscape now. But when I first started my business, I focused on producing as much good content as possible. That's how you knew about me. You probably read one of my articles on
Yeah,
bodybuilding.com.
I saw your article on bodybuilding.com about deadlifting. I was
Right.
like, hey man. I was like, and then I saw your kettlebell stuff too. And then I also saw them on like little websites, like I think Little Black Book, Testosterone Nation,
Yeah. Yeah.
and what else? What other site? Dragon Door. I saw
Yeah.
all those sites.
Yeah, I was heavily involved with them for the first 4 years of my career. But the one thing I did is I wrote articles for other websites that were way more high traffic than mine. T-Nation, bodybuilding.com, and Dragon Door being the most instrumental ones. Dragon Door especially because I was so heavily associated with Pavel and the kettlebell world at that time.
Hmm.
But the more content I put out, the more people wanted to come to me for online, because I used to do a ton of online consulting at that time. I don't do
Yeah.
any of it now, but I used to do a ton of online consulting at that time. And I actually had three different income sources. I had workshops, I had online consulting, and then I had DVDs. And any one of those three was a livable income. Combined all three together, it was a great income. But I could have lived off of any one of those incomes. Definitely online
That's
consulting.
the goal.
So online consulting is the key is you have to ask yourself, why does someone want to hire you? You have to establish value. So you have to find mechanisms of conveying value where people read an article by you and they're like, man, I want to hire this guy. This guy knows what he's talking about. He knows how to get me to where I want to go. And that's in the way to get that is not as clear cut as it was when I started. Because when I first started, like I said, there was no social media, there was no YouTube. So there wasn't as much competition. But there was also, so if you wrote an article on T Nation, you were one of a few people that did that. It wasn't as if there was thousands of people writing articles for them. It was probably less than 100 at any one time, probably not even that many, probably 20. And same thing with bodybuilding.com at that time. So you're on these heavily trafficked platforms that drive traffic to you, and you've already established value. So it's a much easier sell than just randomly trying to get people and convince them to do what you're doing, to work with you. And I don't think social media is effective for getting consulting clients. because no one's on there for that. People go on there for attention, to give other people attention, and to get attention. Let's be honest. The two reasons most
That's
people
the truth.
is give attention, get attention. The
Give
only
attention to
people
get
I see
attention,
using
not to
Instagram,
buy something.
yeah, the only people I see using Instagram that are not doing that are people that are nonprofits, nonprofit organizations, and they're doing it for fundraising purposes. You know, that's why they're on there. They're not just posting. They're not trying to get a bunch of followers who don't donate anything. You know, they need donations and for fundraising purposes. But something like Instagram gives you the illusion that you're actually doing something useful, and you're really not. If you shut down Instagram for 2 months, probably have zero impact on your business. You wouldn't even notice a difference. And then you have to ask yourself, if that's the case, why am I bother doing this? Why am I wasting my time on this platform? So what is going to, you have to find creative guerrilla marketing techniques to get people in your direction, to get people to want to come to you. If you were a trainer at a gym, I bet you would get a lot of online consulting from that. You could use, now you're because people working with you are going to be like, okay, I like this guy. He knows what he's doing. And then you could always say, hey, by the way, I also do online consulting. So if after working with me for 4 or 5 sessions and you've got the gist of it and you just want to continue with my program design, here's the option. Because that's what happens too, is I would have a lot of people come to my courses and then they would sign up as my online clients. I would have people that I did private lessons with where I would only train them once, but then they would become an online client for years after that. So it's all about getting people in front of your message. That's the most important thing. It's positioning versus prospecting. In all areas of life, prospecting never works. People like attractive things. I'm not just talking about physical appearance. When we're a fan of someone, it's because we're attracted to what that person is putting out. So if you're a fan of a male actor, it doesn't mean that you're gay or bisexual. It means that you're a fan, that person is embodying qualities that you find desirable and you want to have.
Yeah, you want to have.
One of my favorite shows is 24, right, with Kiefer Sutherland. And whenever I need motivation, I always go back and watch it because his character, his determination as a character to see the jobs through is very inspiring to me. Because it may sound kind of cheesy, but if I watch a couple episodes of 24, I get automatically inspired. So we all need inspiration. You just have to find it wherever you get it from. But the reason why whatever we focus on is because we're attracted to those things that we're focusing on. So now the key is, how do you get people to be attracted to what you're doing and want to work with you? That's the challenge. But that's where the solution is too.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's just I had to find a way, man. That's really what it comes down to.
You find out about people that you're fans of. You probably read articles that they wrote, or you saw something they did. So that's how people are going to find out about you too. You have so much experience as a trainer and a trainee. You have tons of experience. So if I were you, I would start looking at every website that has high traffic and start coming up with articles to submit to them, because that is a way to establish value with audiences that are a fit for you and to get people to come to you. Use leveraging other platforms as a way to get people to come to you. If you wrote 1 article a month, you have 12 articles by the end of the year. When I first got into the business, I think I wrote 50 articles my first year. I was obsessed with writing. I wrote 4 articles a week. I couldn't get as many articles published as I wanted to. And I was getting published in magazines and all over the web. And honestly, if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have had the success I have. I still do it now. I still write articles for my own website. I don't have to write it for anyone else now. I get enough people coming to my website. But articles has always been my way to establish value. It still is.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to write more articles if I can. But so far, this whole talk is helping a lot.
Good, man.
Because I don't want to be 40 years old and have the same conversation. It's just a waste. I want to be actually making it by 40.
Yeah.
In fact, by 30, by next year even. I just want to have a livable situation.
Well, look, 4 years of concerted work using an effective strategy is all it takes to develop a successful business that will last the rest of your life. I'm not saying that you stop working. I'm saying the first 4 years of any business are the most difficult. Most entrepreneurs don't make it to 4 years. They go out of business way before that. But if you can establish yours, if you do the right strategy for 4 years, I'm not talking about 4 years of just spinning your wheels, throwing stuff on the wall and hoping something sticks. That's not going to get you anywhere. But 4 years of an effective strategy. For me, it was writing articles. That was how I developed success. I knew I was a good writer, and if I didn't have anything to write about, I would interview someone else and get that published somewhere. So it was a combination.
Yeah, I'm definitely a good writer as well. So I write very, very well. In fact, I'm a better writer than a speaker. So
yeah, and
yeah.
believe me, all of the there. Even though we're in such an attention deficit society now, because of Instagram, people don't last more than 8 seconds on most topics. So you post a clip that's 5 minutes, you're lucky if people even get to the 10-second mark. That doesn't mean that everyone falls into that category. It just means people on Instagram fall into that category. There are still websites that have tons of articles. Someone's reading them, otherwise they wouldn't bother putting this out. I write articles for my website, and they're long. People read them. I get business every single time I send one of my articles out. So there are people that are hungry for real information, and you're not going to get good information in a minute. You can't get good information in 30 seconds, 10 seconds, 1 minute, 3 minutes. It takes a stronger commitment than that. An article has to be 500 words, 1,500 words, 2,000 words to convey enough content that it's useful.
Yeah, like even my articles on my website, like my recent article I've done, within like 1, 2, 3 hours, it got like 15 views.
Yeah.
And that's one of the upper end. And sometimes like one of my most popular articles in my website, it got I think around 20, 40 something, one of them. Otherwise, sometimes articles get like what, 2 views, 4 views. And then sometimes they're in the tens. And tens means it's doing well.
Yeah.
And my website I had since 2020. It's not even a finished website either because I'm not really tech savvy, so it's hard for me to just truly work on it. Even though my website has testimonials, it has articles, it has my accomplishments, it has testimonials of my clients. Otherwise, it's kind of hard for me to like fully develop it because never mastered.
What articles do is they convey what you can do for the other person. So if someone reads an article where I have a program in there and it's effective for them, they're going, I want to work with this guy. So I'm a strong believer in give people something before you ask for anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I also don't let people take advantage of me at this point. So I give away a ton of free information. People come to me like, oh, can you take a look at my blood work? I was like, yeah, you're going to pay me for that though. I'm not going to just take a look at your blood work. It's like, yeah, I can look at your blood work for hormones and it takes me 10 seconds to figure out what's going on and what the solution is. But that's because I've been doing this for over a decade. That's why. So you're not paying for the 10 seconds it takes for me to look and tell you what's going on. You're paying for the 10 years that I put into developing this level of expertise.
Yeah.
And I give a ton of free information on my website. So if you want to, you could just go read those articles and figure it out yourself. But if you want me to spoon feed that shit to you, then I am going to charge you for that. And my time is very valuable. You can pay it. And that's as simple as that. I'm generous.
I mean, same.
People are going to take advantage of. I'm not a mark.
They will take advantage. Same with me. I mean, my YouTube I had since 2020, but since like I guess 2015, that's when I started doing like more informative content. And it really picked up more like 2016, 2017, 2018, when I was like doing less about, I mean, I was still doing my training vlog like I did since 2010, but I was also adding a lot more just informative content about training and just more free information, pretty much. And sometimes even telling people how to program without actually giving them program. Just a lot of free information. But that alone just gives people like information on the exercises, information on programming, information about how to get good at certain exercise, build muscle, how to eat, whatever. and that gets me more subscribers. I'm at above 1,800 now, like around almost 2,000 subscribers. But I don't think I ever got a single client from YouTube. The only thing is, I was close to getting like maybe 2, 3 clients from YouTube, and they all just left me on red. They
Yeah.
didn't come back.
Yeah. Well, the problem with YouTube is that it's free. People go there for free information. See, that's the problem, is that it's whenever someone is used to getting everything for free, it's hard for them to understand why they should pay for anything. So it's a
Yeah.
big challenge there. I think also is that your focus is very particular from what I'm understanding in terms of the kind of people you work with. And what you'll find is it's everyday people that want to get stronger and fit, not people
Yeah.
that take it to elite levels, that are the ones that are more likely. So I'm talking about busy executives who have a ton of money, but they don't have a lot of time to train. So they have 30 minutes 4 times a week to do something, and they don't know what to do with that time. And they don't have the time to research it or the desire, but they've got plenty of money to spend on someone else to tell them what to do. But those are the people that you build a career off of. You don't build a career off some 21-year-old who lives at home,
Doesn't want to pay.
and wants to squat 400 pounds, because that's not someone who has any money. They're not going to spend any on advice. They're just looking for free advice.
Free advice. Unfortunately, those are kind of like more of the type of people that are attracted to my channel and my services. The ones that are like the ones who truly want to get strong, truly want to get big, but all of a sudden don't have money to pay. All of a sudden, it's like, oh, I'm a student, oh, I'm poor, this, that.
Those are the kind of goals people only care about when they're really young. Once someone's over 30, they're working, they have responsibilities. They don't care about being the strongest guy in the gym. They don't care about competing in powerlifting events, but they have money. They have money to spend, and they want to be strong and fit and look good. Like everybody wants to look good. Everybody wants to be fit. Everybody wants that. Not everybody wants to take it to elite levels or even believe they can.
Yeah.
But it's the people that are between 30 and above. You're working with people that are professionals now. These are people that have regular jobs, good incomes, and they are happy to spend it on stuff that they find useful. The people that have no money, if someone's broke, asking someone for $150 even is asking too much. They don't have any money for that's luxury. That's a luxury. So I mean, when you think about it, what you do,
you'll spend it on alcohol and weed anyway. So
yeah, what we all do is basically a luxury. Like none of my stuff is cheap. My products are expensive. So if someone buys them, it's people that have money. And I'm not trying to be the Walmart of the supplement industry, so that's fine. I have very specialized products that are very targeted. So definitely it targets a demographic of men who are generally over 40 who have the issues that the products address. And these are people that have plenty of money and they want to feel good. There's a lot of people out there that totally destroyed their health to become successful financially. And now they're 40 and 50 and they're overweight and they have high blood pressure and they look like shit. And they have all the money in the world to spend on correcting those things, and they want to. It's nothing for them to spend $1,000 a month on something. It's nothing. I mean, those are the kind of people that you build a successful business off of.
Yeah.
Everyday people, what you sell to them is an ebook. You make an ebook, it's $10. You want enough training programs to last you the rest of the year? Go buy my ebook. Boom, $10. You get a lot of people spending $10, it adds up. You start doing really well. But online consulting is a different category of person. It's someone who actually has to have expendable cash. Someone who makes a good enough income where that's not a big deal.
Yeah. The only problem with ebooks really is that the ebooks are good and all, but then you get the people that will just do stuff illegal with it, just like make copies of them, or just
what's honest about that is that's actually a good thing if it happens. It means people actually are buying it. Otherwise, no one's going to rip it off and try to sell it away. I have people who rip off my ebooks and sell them in other countries. I don't even bother trying to police that because number one, it's impossible to police. And number two, those are people that are still going to end up at my website, which is the whole point of the ebook. because I don't worry about stuff like that. But if someone's trying to rip off your content, it's because you're successful. Otherwise, no one's going to care. So if you write an ebook and no one's buying it, no one's trying to rip that off. So
that's the worst part. I mean, obviously they have to buy it.
Yeah, when people are trying to rip you off, though, it's because you're doing well. So that's not the worst thing.
Yeah, that's true. And also like making like apps and stuff, like making like app programs, and they're just paid apps, like maybe 99 cents a month, or making a online app for like $1, $2, $5, and then someone just hacks into it and just makes the $5 accessible without paying.
You have to think about the kind of stuff. What do you spend money on within the realm of the fitness world? Because that's what other people are going to spend money on. So if you spend money on whatever it is, that's what other people are going to be spending money on.
That's also true. And thing is, I'm thinking like probably a better idea to advertise coaching is maybe go to local shops and stuff, like put flyers of your services, local shops that accept advertisements around the towns, and then maybe someone will email you, call you, and something.
Well, I'll give you a clever guerrilla marketing technique that could work well. Volunteer to train volunteer firefighters like I did. Just be like, look, I want to come help you guys as a public service. Train them for a month, and then get local media to cover the fact that you're doing this. So here's me giving back to my community. I want to help out these firefighters. These guys put their lives on the line to keep us safe, and I'm an expert in fitness and training, and I wanted to give back to my community by helping these people out. You get more PR from that than anything you spend money on. That doesn't cost you anything but time. You know, right now you've got time. You may not have a lot of money to spend on promoting yourself, but you've got time. So time is a commodity. You know, use your time. I didn't have any money when I started my business. I didn't have much. I mean, I had money from my last job, but I didn't have a lot of money to blow on stuff. So I didn't blowing money on advertising was a luxury. I didn't even think about that. I had to figure out ways, clever ways, to get in front of people and establish value. And if you go volunteer, it doesn't just have to be firefighters, could be anyone. Go volunteer to help battered women develop physical training attributes. These are all things these are good things to do in and of themselves, even if no one else finds out. But these are also the kind of things that people want to do stories on. And now you get free exposure from that, which can be useful for everything else you do. So that's really the key is, you know, how do you stand out from everybody else? That's the most important thing. I stood out personally because I got into kettlebells, which no one else was doing at the time. I've been a vegan for a long time, so it's unusual to see someone who looks like me that's on a vegan diet, especially at that time. And then I infused a lot of my spiritual stuff into my writings. So you stick out. People are going, okay, this is different. This guy's not generic. The last thing you ever want to be is generic.
Yeah.
Something about you. So when you are yourself unapologetically and authentically, then you're going to stick out. And some people are going to hate you. They're going to be like, I don't like that guy at all. That's good. There's people who don't like me at all, and that's fine. I don't care. I'm not a politician running for office. I'm not trying to win the popular vote. I know that I can be
be yourself, man.
I'm an intense guy, and some people are not gonna like that. They're gonna be like, oh, I don't like that. I don't like the way he looks. So whatever the fuck it is, who cares? Now, some people don't like others for whatever the reason is. I don't care about the people who don't like me. You know, they're none of my business.
I care about the people who do like me.
Yeah, go ahead and stop. Go ahead.
People don't like me for no reason. I don't want to have anything to do with them either. So
like me, they're not gonna like me. So that's fine.
I want nothing to do with those people either, you know. Just stay out of my way.
When you stand up for yourself, when you stand up for whatever your beliefs are, some people are not going to agree with that, and they're just going to dislike you for that reason only. I had people that didn't like me because I'm on a vegan diet. They thought that was stupid. So just that alone, they didn't like me.
That's ridiculous.
People who didn't care, they're like, oh, I don't care what he eats. He's so strong. I just want to get his training information. And then you had people who resonated with what I do. They're like, hey, you know what? I feel the same way he does. So I want to learn from him on how he makes his diet work, because I've been doing it since I was 20. I'm 49 now. Obviously, if it didn't work, I wouldn't last this long. So it's just like whatever it is about you that makes you unique, other people need to know that. I guess is where I'm going.
Yeah, man. I mean, thing is, everything you're saying, it's definitely true. I mean, it's always a good conversation, and I guess it's 2 hours and 49 minutes, man.
Yeah.
So, and the thing is, I wrote down so many questions, and we covered a few of it. So I guess whenever we're down in the future, we could have like a part two, maybe part three. Just continue the
Yeah.
conversation going.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
This has been great, man. A lot of gems in this,
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. So it
and
was,
always good to have someone like you on the channel, someone who not only has actually done it, not only has been out there, but actually a genuine person in general. Because I reached out to you even like when I was on your channel as a guest, and then I wanted to keep in contact with you when you're off Instagram, not because you just interviewed me, not because of your kettlebell, not because of your lifts and stuff, but just your personality, and just you're actually a genuine person, and you weren't selfish. You actually gave me the time of day, and you actually just you wanted to consider it selfless people out there, which is kind of rare to be that selfless, regardless, because most people are really for themselves and stuff. So good to see somebody selfless, good to see someone who has morals. But yeah, anyway, you know what I'm saying.
that's all very nice to say, and I appreciate that. I mean, that means a lot to me. So thank you.
Yes. And so I guess we could any last words you want to say before we shut this off? And I'll definitely continue this in a future date, continue some other questions and stuff, and we'll touch up on things more.
Yeah, I'll just leave with, hey, my website is mikemahler.com. Tons of free information on hormones, training, you name it. I don't do any online consulting. I don't do any phone consults. But I am available if people have questions when they read my articles. And if there's questions about my products, fine. But if you're interested in hormone optimization, if you're interested in improving your testosterone levels and improving your physique composition via optimizing hormones, then check out my website. There's a ton of free information there to dive into.
And that's mikemahler.com, right?
So it's MIKEMAHLER. And you can also do aggressivestrength.com. Will get you to the same place.
Aggressivetank.com. Okay, I'll put the links of the websites when I upload this video on my YouTube.
Yeah, I'll send this out to my list too, so we'll get some traction on it.
Yeah, and I'm sorry I just seem so scatterbrained, so tired because I'm just very low on energy. Just it's kind of hard to like utter a word, kind of hard to like get my thoughts out. So I seem like pretty underexpressive, kind of like a zombie. So sorry the quality wasn't as good as it should have been. Hopefully I could be a little more lucid later. I tried, man.
Yeah, you did fine.
I was just completely dead, man.
No, we had a good conversation. I enjoyed it. You did fine.
Yeah, because I feel like I was like, I was kind of like freaking talking dead, kind of like pulling teeth. Kind of sounded. It was hard for. I was little underexpressive, so it's pretty like, man, what the hell, man.
Well,
A good
actually
conversation. I could have done better.
People would find it hard to believe, but I'm more inclined to be an introverted person than an extrovert. But I became extroverted to develop my business. I developed those qualities, but naturally I'm an introvert. But clearly I'm a guy who can talk a lot too, as we just did for the last 3 hours.
So you did.
Yeah, so I oscillate between introverted and extroverted. But
I'm the same way. I oscillate between both introvert and extrovert.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like more extroverted than normal. Other times I'm too introverted, to my detriment that I can't even freaking utter a sentence, or I'm just way too tired, way too lame brained, or some shit that I just sound like complete.
I enjoy hanging out with interesting people. But if there aren't any interesting people, then I'd rather be alone. I'm not
I'm
someone
the same way, man.
people. So like there's people I know at the dog park that are very nice people, but if I get stuck talking to them, it's always small talk, it's banter, it's not anything interesting to me. So I rather walk a little bit later than they go out so that it's just me and my dogs and I can listen to music, my headphones or a podcast. And if I come across people I know that I'm friends with that are interesting, great. If not, no big thing. So I can kind of
Yeah.
leave it. I'm a very social person and I enjoy talking to interesting people. But if they're not interesting, I'm not interested. I'm
Yeah.
just
I
going
guess we're all like that in a way. Or some people just don't want to talk with you, you know? And that's
yeah,
perfectly fine. That's
yeah,
find someone else who will.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Me
Exactly.
sometimes I'm just out of my element. I'm just like completely even if I want to, it just doesn't come out right. And
Right.
today is one of those days.
It happens to all of us. That happens.
Anyway, we're gonna sign off.
Okay.
Hopefully this when I say stop recording,
Yeah,
hopefully the whole
just hit the
thing
stop recording button and you'll be
hopefully
good.
this whole thing saves and I'll upload it.
Okay.
And the worst scenario, this whole shit does not record, even when I said stop recording.
Well, we
But
still
it
have
should be
a
able to
conversation
record.
that happened.
It should be able to record though.
Yeah, it should be fun.
Okay, signing off. Peace out.
All right. You take
Okay,
care.
see you this another time. Have a
All
good
right.
day, Mike.